just gonna lay back and I'ma drop some smooth lyrics. So tune in 7 to 9:30 and don't be late. We about to set it straight. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Word. I'm ready, let's go. Ain't no half stepping, that's the name of the show. Yeah, Marcus J hosting and we ready to go. Yeah, Hunters talk sprinkle with a dash of humor to the legacy listeners and the online viewers. What you wanna talk about, call it, we hearing you. Cover all topics, touch on the main issues. With the flow in this show, bring the heat. The word on the street, Wizard Earl on the beat. We superb in the D, legacy online. 7 to 9:30, please be on time. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J, my brother. If they can't hang, word to their mother. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before force. And listen up, this Marcus Stage start to talk, running back. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before force. And listen up, this Marcus Stage start to talk. Steppin' is the name of the show. Yeah, Marcus J hosting and we ready to go. Yeah, Hunters talk sprinkle with a dash of humor to the legacy listeners and the online viewers. What you wanna talk about, call it, we hearing you. Cover all topics, touch on the main issues. With the flow in this show, bring the heat. The word on the street, Wizard Earl on the beat. We superb in the D, legacy online. 7 to 9:30, please be on time. Ain't no half stepper with Marcus J, my brother. If they can't hang, word to their mother. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before force. And listen up, this Marcus Stage start to talk.
All right, y'all. Ain't no hashtag Marcus J is back for the first time in a very long time. It's our first show of 2022. First time we've been live since our 10-year anniversary show way back in December 4th of 21. We celebrated 10 years live at Brewers Cafe, but it's a new year. It's a new show, new topics, new energy, new vibe. Let's get it. Flagship show. Ain't no half stepping. Marcus J is live right now. Yeah.
It's about that time. It's about that time to get. Yeah.
Button your lip. Open your ears. Strap on your thinking cap. Socially conscious talk that's entertaining with a dash of humor and the top sports stories of the week. It's time for Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J.
Sellers has Jordan. Jordan with 2 seconds to go. Puts it up and scores at the buzzer. Michael Jordan has won it for Chicago. Manning lobs it. Burris alone. Touchdown, New York.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. He hits one deep to right center. That ball is out of here. The Yankees win the pennant.
Ain't no hashtag when Marcus J is live from New Den Legacy Internet Radio. Be down with us tonight at 804-402-2893. Be part of the flagship show, heard live from New Den of Legacy Internet Radio. Thank you, y'all, for being with us. It's our first time being on the show since December 4th of 2021. That's a whole 5 weeks ago or however long it was. It's the first time we've been in New Den for 2 months because we didn't do shows right at the right before we did the live show. So it's been a while since we've been in this space, and I'm not going to talk much more. I'm gonna get the usual suspects introduced and get them in. Of course, you see him across the table from me. You see him across the table from me every single show, and he's my brother. He's your brother. He's John. What it do, homie? How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm a bit
knock off
rusty.
the dust.
Yeah,
I'm a
man.
bit rusty.
I'm sitting there thinking, why don't he just drive the whole
I
mic?
couldn't get the mic out the stand. I couldn't what did it say?
You all right over there, bro?
We gonna have to
I couldn't drive that truck wagon.
What's happening
what can
right
I
now?
say
I don't know.
politically that will make us argue so he can get his.
Yeah, we need to.
Listen,
It ain't gonna be long.
No, it's gonna be long. I left a lot of that in 2021.
Whatever.
Just
Tell that to somebody that don't know you, who ain't done radio with you for years.
I'm tired of people not liking me.
Oh my goodness!
Oh,
if you live in life worrying about being,
you know, you don't care about
Yeah, I'm
that.
tired of people not liking me.
Oh my goodness! You got zero.
I'm tired of being.
I'm gonna save the F words until later. I ain't gonna just drop them right out the gate. But yeah, you.
Well, what we say earlier, bro?
Huh?
I nitpick.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna stop doing that.
Yeah, I told him he nitpicks. But let me before we do
Oh.
that,
I'm not gonna nitpick no
before
more.
we do that, I want to get our sister introduced. She is the co-host of the show. She sits on my right side. She is my right hand. My sister and your sister, Steph B, is here. Here. There she
Man,
is.
you know.
There.
Always forward.
How you doing?
Yeah, always forward. Seriously.
Yeah.
Looking forward. It's 2022. We
Yeah.
got new things we need to be doing.
Yeah.
Old things we need to resolve because
Yeah.
some things followed us. We ain't want them to, but you know, you can't control everything.
Nah, you really can't. I told John I won't get into the context as for not on the air conversation, but I did tell him that he kind of nitpicks a little bit. So I don't know that if he agrees
So
or not,
honesty is
and I would
continuing
not
in
have brought that
2022.
up, but he brought that up. So I don't know.
I mean, honesty among friends.
that's my brother, man.
We are keeping that in 2022.
That's my brother, man.
We're usually an honest trio.
Hey man, it's like one of them things where other folks they come for your peoples. You got
You
to
be like,
bury
nah,
them.
nah,
You got to bury
can't.
them. But when it's yours, you be like, look, well,
I know. That's me. Look,
yeah,
if you're my man, you got to be team Steph
Yeah.
all the time. If
Yeah.
I say the sky is red, I don't care if 20 people are out here saying it's blue.
yeah.
Say it's red till we get home.
Until we get home.
Yeah, don't side with these people.
Yeah.
It's team B or nothing.
Yeah, I remember, when I was young, when I was but a lad, and I remember my older brother was the guy who would always be there, to handle that business for me. I'd be the kid that I could throw a grenade, and start a whole fight, and then step off to the side. And next thing you know, my older brother is right there,
I know
covering
those
up the grenade. And because I'm his little brother, he would never get mad at me. Like
Yeah,
he
he
would
got you.
he would never get mad at
Yeah.
me. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. The point being, when it's your people's, you just do what you gotta do. for
Yes,
them. So,
yeah.
you know.
And then off camera.
And then off camera, you just go because my brother would come for me.
Why that look
He
like
would-
an angry little French
he-
bulldog?
He would, yeah, I do resemble a Frenchie, right?
Well,
I didn't call you a chihuahua. They don't be cute enough.
We don't
You
we
get
don't
French
know that we not
bulldog.
big.
you
Pitbull in a bow, baby.
you said that I nitpick, and another friend of mine told me recently that because I know that we live in a world that I'm not accustomed to, right? People are very prepared and almost welcome, shitty service and piss poor performance. It's the norm. And when you call anybody out on it, or even have anything to say, they paint you as some kind of terrorist or something. So, I'm gonna learn to let it go. Like, all this COVID stuff, I ain't talking about it no more. I don't care that, all this stuff comes out later about what they lied about and said this and that. Nah, who cares? Get the shot, don't get the shot. Get the disease, die, don't. It's up to you.
We'll see.
I don't believe
I'm
it.
We gonna be
serious. I'm
positive
leaving.
about it.
Listen,
What we will do
watch.
is
Y'all are
be
gonna see-
positive in 2022 and not morose and somber.
But here's what I'm not gonna do. I'm not putting sugar on shit. I'm just gonna remain quiet.
Okay.
All right. So people want to dance around.
What time is it?
And praise. People want to dance around and praise all this nonsense. I'm not gonna join in.
It's 10 after.
But I'm not tearing it down anymore. It's not worth my energy. If most of the world is willing to accept bullshit, then who am I to try to correct them?
There is something to be said for both sides of that argument. I get you, John. I mean, I don't know if other folks do, but I get you. I get you in the sense that there's a certain order to way things should be. And a lot of that is in disarray as we move further and further into the future, as we try to make things more easy and more convenient. You lose a lot with regards to customer service and quite frankly, just being able to relate to people. You lose a lot of that. And so one of the things, Steph, that we would talk about, matter of fact, let me get some comments in and you guys remind me to come back to this point. But we got some salutations from the listeners. They've been wanting to get in. We haven't been on in a while, so we have to get them in. Let me get a couple of comments in. First, my brother Robert Ralston. Peace to you, Samoa B, brother. Peace to you, brother. Thank you for rocking with us because we're gonna roll with you. Our brother Kev Crosley is checking us out. He says blessed and always great to see you making it happen 2022. Our sister Candace Dion Braxton is checking us out. She's saying hey to everybody. We're getting a shout out from our brother Rose Taylor. He's checking us out. He is giving us the thumbs up. And then we got two salutations. They both said good morning. So they are from our favorite sisters and listeners. And so we're going to give it to them both at the same time. We are happy and we're going to look. Yeah, they both tagged us at the same time. So we're going to give them both the love at the same time. We're going to say good morning, Sue. Good morning, Latrell. Yeah. And, you know, I have Steppin, Marcus, J. Loud from New Day Legacy and Radio. All right, so Steph, one of the things that John and I were talking about earlier was we were talking about when we go to certain stores and how customer service isn't the same, more specifically when you go to a store where you have to do the self-checkout. Now, John Jr. and I are all about the self-checkout. The less people that you have to deal with, the better.
Okay.
John Sr. ain't really feeling it quite as much. John Sr. can speak for himself on as to his why. I understand in his logic, but I want him to share what his logic is. And one more salutation, two more salutations before we do that. So you have just come in. My man Tony Brewer is checking us out. Brewer's Cafe. Tony, appreciate you in the hospitality. The last time we did a show, we did it in your son's spot. We appreciate you, bro. And of course, one of my favorite people and our favorite listeners checking in from Baltimore, our sister Edie is checking us out.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year, family. We appreciate you and thanks for rocking. We roll with you, my sister. All right, John, I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro.
The self-checkout is almost a light side of it, but it's the same difference. I just went to the supermarket before we went on the air to get a few things, and I used the self-checkout, right? I don't want to big up the store because they don't sponsor us, but I don't have a name tag with my name on it for their store, and I don't have a little apron or whatever it is that they wear for their store. So I don't understand why people are so excited about going to work for this corporation and not getting paid, because that's what you're doing in the self-checkout. You're putting on a name tag and a thing, and you're doing a job that they eliminated to save money as they raised
and they
prices.
Didn't cut prices. No,
they raised prices. So they raised prices, got rid of jobs, right? And now make you work for free as you pay more for your groceries. And everybody seems okay with it. Like you don't realize that you are doing somebody else's job. I guess it's my age, and I say this all the time.
I might save you.
If I'm lucky In a few days, I'll be 54. Right? I tell everybody I ain't got no shame
John's
in
a
it. I'm proud of it.
Capricorn.
No, I'm an Aquarius.
Oh, are
He,
you?
he just
Wait,
missed
when?
it.
Oh, you just missed that. Would explain that streak.
Anyway, as I was saying,
I don't know what that means, but it must mean something.
No mean
Oh.
streak. Them
Oh,
Aquarius.
she
They can
got
get a
the
little
face.
mean.
She made the
streak.
face when she said
So,
it. Go ahead,
uh,
finish your point, John.
as I'm saying though, like, why are you, I kind of lost my chain. But my whole point is, I remember going to the grocery store and having a woman or a man ring up my groceries,
Thank you.
and then another woman or a man, as they ring it up,
Bagging
take
it.
it and put it in a bag
Yeah.
and ask me, like at a certain point, paper or plastic or both, right? And I remember as a little kid bagging groceries for
Yes.
tips,
Yes.
right?
In
That was
New
the
York,
hustle.
definitely.
Yeah.
That was the hustle.
and then
Yes.
taking
I
them
ain't gonna lie,
home.
that was
That
the
and
hustle.
taking cans to the recycling.
Yeah, all of
Yeah.
that. Listen, all of that kind of stuff, making you a little bit of bread. But what I'm saying is, why is it, right, that you want me to work? Like another example I gave is like with the phone, your cell phone or your cable company or whatever. You got a problem, right? And you call in and say, hey, I'm having a problem with the service. They tell you to get on your computer,
Yes.
open up their app, and go to work. They pay people that people stay home now, log on to their computer, and open up the app to fix your phone. They pay people, but they want you to do it for free as the prices go up. And people are cool with that. Oh, yeah, I'd rather do it myself. Huh? You'd rather do it yourself, but the cost of having someone do it for you factors into your bill.
No one
Right?
cares about that, John.
Yeah, but you need to care.
I don't. And I don't need to because I don't have to because I don't want to.
Can I hop
Like,
in?
really?
Need to listen.
I don't have to worry about that.
Need to
That's
have
not
to
the
on-
amount I want to plant my flag on.
Yeah, but I'm not saying to plant your flag on it, right?
You kind of are.
But no, what I'm saying is you disregard it, right? Through privilege, right? But it's not. But it the fact that the companies are outright robbing people.
That's a different
Chart
argument.
that, that's no, it's the same argument.
Not to me, it's
They
not.
listen when they go to the governing, not to you, but when they go to
That's kind of the
when
point,
they
yeah.
go to FCC
Yeah.
and different regulatory bodies and the government and so on and so forth to justify their profit margin, to justify when they don't pay taxes on certain things and so on and so forth, when it trickles back down to middle and lower income people who suffer more from it, is based on the fact that they're saying, oh, well, we get to charge this much because we provide this service, when they actually don't provide the service because people are willing to go do the work themselves and not see how that should relate on their bill. Like a person should be cognizant of what they're being charged for. And if you're being overcharged and underserved, you kind of should have a problem with it unless you're just wealthy.
No, I don't have a problem with it because I don't see me paying $5 and for a carton of milk or whatever it is has anything to do with the person that's bagging it for me. I don't see.
You don't
it there.
connect it.
I don't.
You
I don't
care
connect
about
those
it in that
dots.
But
way.
it
Now,
is connected.
Can I
okay,
say
but-
something about this?
Let me get some comments in from social media because they are literally flying in, and then Steph, you got the con after that. Let's see. Let's go backwards here because there's quite a bit of stuff here. Let's see. See how far back I got to go get these comments in because y'all love us today. All right. Lathrell starts with depends on how much stuff she's buying. My sister Sharonda is checking us out. She says no checkout for me. As often as I can, I avoid it. Hey, y'all, glad to be tuning in from North Carolina. Yeah. They're giving Tony love on the food there. He says, love you guys, appreciate you. Sue says the food was delicious and she's going back.
Oh, okay. Sue cosign?
Yeah.
All right
you know
now.
Sue cosign.
Then
You know it's good.
I'm believing it.
Sharonda says, yes, John, why I have to work for you?
It sounds funny when you say it that way too.
Yeah, it does.
Just co-signing on it. It does sound funny.
Don't forget your train of thought.
Yeah, I
I'm
won't.
still coming back to you. Edie says, I love checkout. I get a discount every time. Our sister and yours, Laurel, is checking us out. She's saying, hey, how are you? How are you, Laurel? Peace to you and the family. Much love to you. Sharonda says, yes, they save and raise. It's a no for me. Stores and utility companies do it. Everyone wants you to troubleshoot. I'm not getting compensated. I'm not working for you. Edie says, yeah, and I do markdowns like them. It's great. Sue says, you are right, John. You are paying them to work for them. Tony says, I go through the line when I'm not in a hurry. Let's see. Sharonda says, yep, I'm like that. I can do it. Worked all day. I'm paying for the service. I like hiring a housekeeping and then cleaning the house. It's like hiring a housekeeping and then cleaning the house yourself. 100% disagree with that. But yeah. I don't agree with that. But I
don't
do.
know if I compare it the same on that
I think it's an awesome analogy though. I guess we should get oh, Sharonda's on it today. I guess we should get an affiliate discount.
No, that's funny.
Yeah, that is funny. Lathrell says paying the CEO his big salary. Laurel says I'm good. My family, Ron High is checking us out. What's up, family? I appreciate you, bro. Thanks for rocking all the way from the bricks. Tony says, give my son AJ all the credit, and I appreciate you for putting your son AJ over. We love the dude. He's Legacy and that radio alumni, so I give him his flowers every time I see him. I probably make him uncomfortable. I'm one of them dudes that says I love you every time I see the man. So it's just what it is. And Laurel says, I had to chase down the bank today because I got charged a bank hole of $125 to buy $20 in gas. Never heard of anything like that before. That's outrageous. And there's one more comment that I need to get, but I'm having some trouble accessing it. So if you bear with me for just a minute, I'm gonna get that other comment because oh, okay. Michelle K is checking us out. I'm sorry. Sometimes when they come through on the Legacy and the radio page, I can see the comment, but not the name. So, but I got it now. Michelle K, Legacy and that radio family down in the Tidewater area saying, I'm sorry. So check out as my best friend. Get in, get out. Sometimes the clerks are not friendly and I don't want to deal with an attitude. So, which actually brings up a whole different discussion. That's a whole different discussion. But I'm sorry, Steph, you got the con. Where you going with this?
I agree with John on the basis, just on the surface level. I prefer someone else to do it. I'm not a pro, bag plucker. I hate standing over there trying to get that plastic bag open, and it seems like it should be so much easier.
Every time I get it, I hand that bag.
Licking your fingers, catching COVID.
No,
it's
we won't
not
be
cool.
doing that. But I get it.
But you do it on habit.
But also,
I've given the bag to John to open for me. I can't do it.
I have been out with a good friend of mine who owns a restaurant, and she's been standing there looking at me like, I know you're going to get this bag open. I could not. She just got in front of me. But I do feel like, one, they were going to do it anyway. Right? They were going to move to this type of system without asking the consumer anyway, because what's driving everything is going to be the bottom line and the shareholders. So they were going to do this whether we liked it or not. But I don't like it. I don't like it from the perspective of, one, it may, a lot of the economic points that John is making are true, in addition to the fact they save money on staffing. And the more of those that show up, the less service and help you get in other areas. It's not just at the register. You're when I was in Jersey City, I was in Jersey City over
wonderful
the holiday.
town.
Yes.
Produces wonderful people.
Yes, absolutely wonderful. Starlight quality. And so I'm there.
Shout outs to the Manhattans.
Is that where they come from?
Gerald Austin is a part of King
that.
Solomon Lodge number 19 in Jersey City. My family's lodge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll shout out Jersey City Lodge in a minute when I look at
Yeah.
But so I'm in this Walmart that's there, and actually in Bayonne, and I'm just grabbing some things, and in the food section. This is Christmas Eve. So it should be jam-packed with employees. Most of the lanes are not open Christmas Eve, and all of the self-checkout are open. Of the 6 or 7 checkouts, 3 or 4 have the red light on, so they're stuck. They can't do anything. The other lanes that are open are completely backed up. But then on top of it, if you're looking for something or can't find something on the shelves, while those may not be the same people, what people have to understand is when they downsize or cut back labor in one department, they're doing it in another as well. So this is a trend to where now you're looking for a ladder so you can get up top
Yeah.
and get the prego down
Yeah, that's a
or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think they're all connected. I will tell you this about me. I was that guy, and you know, I guess I'm about to date myself here in the Richmond area. There are some that may not, you know, are you know, outside of Richmond listeners, and even you, John, may not be able to relate to this, but and you too, Steph, you might. But there was a store here in this town called U Crops.
Yes.
You remember U Crops?
Yes.
U Crops used to be extra with the customer service.
They're like Publix in Florida is like that.
They would be over the top with making sure that you straight, you know, to the point where you might have just bought a 6-pack of beer. Well, no, let me take that back, because they didn't even sell beer.
No liquor,
My
no
bad,
alcohol.
I forgot they didn't even sell beer.
And close on Sunday.
And close on Sunday. You might buy just something where it's one bag, and they will fight with you about trying to carry your bag for you to the car.
And don't you tip me.
And don't tip. And I'll be honest with you, I guess maybe it's from where it comes from, where I came from, and there's no shade to us Northerners. Of course, I'm not gonna shade myself, but we just move different when it comes to that. Like, get away from me, I got it. like really get away from me, I got it. So when we talk about the self-checkout and that, when I saw that,
you were like,
I was like, wow, because it just, like, the whole mask thing that we got to do now when we wear masks is wonderful, because it fits my anxiety perfect. I ain't got to look at you. I ain't got to acknowledge you or nothing. If you can see my eyes through the tents, then maybe we'll talk that way. But I just didn't want to interact. I still don't want to interact. When I come to the store, I just want to get what I need to get. I don't want to do the small talk. I don't do none of that. So while I understand where you're coming from, I'm just in a different place with it. You know what I'm saying? I come from a different place with it. Like, I don't break down and analyze the fact that because I'm at this kiosk, and I'm not disparaging you or anybody else that does that. I'm just saying I don't do that. I don't care that there's a kiosk here for me to check out my own stuff. That makes me happy. That means that's less people I got to deal with. That's faster I can get out of the store. And the fact that it costs the same as it would have before if someone scanned it and bagged it does not move me at all. Not even, doesn't move the needle with me one bit. You know what moves the needle with me? The fact that I can get out of here without touching you or talking to you or dealing with you. Ain't no have Steppin, Marcus J Live from New Day Legacy and the Radio. Let's get some comments in from social media. Let's see. Sharonda says, yay, Steph. So she was digging what you said. Luthrell is saying those bags are not user friendly. I'm telling you, I'll get that bag to whoever's sitting next to me. Like, I have given the bag to John.
Will make you question your college education.
Get the bag for me. I can't do it. I can't do it. Edie says, pull the size of the bag handle tabs will pop out to help open it. I'm gonna try that, Edie. I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna think about you when I do it, and if it don't work, I'm gonna call you right there on the spot. My brother Ron says, what you do is keep a wet napkin in a Ziploc so you can get your fingers wet. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, y'all clearly have spent some time in this. Team Davis is checking us out. Peace to you, family. They say, if these are the opinions you share, Bankless is next. Google that. Yeah, there's something to be said for that too. I know where you're going with it. Sharonda says, easy pass, meter reading, self-checkouts, automated. There's no 411. Hashtag Chilltown, Jersey City, stand up. I appreciate her because she's from Jersey City, just like I am, obviously. Let's see. Edie says, it might just be the hood in me. When I can't find someone, I help myself. Went to the back plenty of times. Sounds like me. I'm the same way.
I do agree. I would
Luthrell says she loved U Crops. You can have it. I'm glad they closed down because they was too nice for me. Sharon, imagine that, too nice. Sharonda says that's why she loves Costco. Scan and go makes me happy. Self checkout annoys me. Please excuse my ignorance, but I kind of don't know the difference between Scan and Go and self checkout.
I'll break it down to you.
And so, okay. Edie says she's talking to Sharonda. Sis, if I gotta go to the back get my own merch, I'm definitely bringing up porch chairs as bliss stacks. Yo, okay, all right. Self checkout was only good when I was a serial couponer. After that, nah, that's Sharonda. And then Laurel says, I like self checkout. I don't want to talk either. I just want to run, grab what I need, and get the heck out of there. And Latrell says, not too nice. Yes, too nice. Remember your brother who you've known for almost 30 years. There is a thing called too nice when it comes to dealing with me. Ain't no Hastel Marcus J live from New Day and Legacy and their radio. Thank you to everybody who is here, everybody who is watching, listening. If you want to call us, our number is 804-402-2893. You can see it right there in the same little link where you're finding our show. And then last thing, Sharonda says Scan and Go is offered at Sam's Club. Break it down, John.
So Scan and Go, I experienced it. So in North, instead of Kroger, we have Stop and Shop, right? So you coin the Stop and Shop, and if you have the card, like the Kroger card, you grab a little scanner off the wall, like they have, and it's electronic. And as you shop, you scan each item, you put into your bag, into your cart. You go around the store, and when it's over, you press the button and you pay. You have a card that's already online. That's it. You walk out the door with your stuff. You don't touch no register,
Amazon
no scan
calls
out.
it just walk out shopping.
Yeah. So every time you scan something, bloop, put it in your basket, bloop, and just keep going to the car.
I actually have seen that. I didn't have the terminology to go with it, but I have seen that. And Sue says, I get it, Marcus. I don't trust too nice. See, I knew at least one person, and it's always gonna be my big sister Sue because she loves me.
So I'm gonna tell you,
y'all don't love me.
After meeting Sue face to face at our anniversary event,
yes,
the whole good morning Sue takes on a whole nother
a
whole nother thing in my
that's been a trademark. That's been a trademark forever.
Back to the thing. We had a conversation, Marcus, you and I last week.
Last comment on this because we need to move on.
About our shared but separate Las Vegas experiences.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you loved yours, and for the same reason you loved yours, I hated mine.
All right, for context, mine was 100% touchless, personless. I got to that town, and from the time I landed and to the time I got back to the airport several days later, I didn't talk to or deal with anybody dealing with any of the services that I had up to and including the hotel. I didn't talk to them. I didn't go to no desk, nothing. Everything was person and touchless. John hated that. I loved it.
Well, I'm a person who had been to Vegas a few times in my life, and I had a way of doing things. I booked my room online through a third party to get some good savings. And when I get there, I stand in line and wait to go see the check-in lady or fella, whoever's there. Normally, though, it's a woman, it seems like. But you go in to check in. I got a little $50 bill folded up nice, and I just slide it forward with my ID.
What is it, right? 1975?
No, this is 2019. I did this last time I did it.
This dude, man.
He just
folded up
like
to 50.
He's a relic.
He's a relic. Folded up to 50.
Let me see it. I got something
Slid
for your
it with
pockets.
the ID.
See if Uncle John got something for your pocket.
Listen, she takes the ID to 50. She pulls it down. She looks up and she begins to type. We don't got to talk. We know what it is. If there's an available suite,
prostitution.
No,
we don't gotta talk.
No. If there's an available,
name is John.
But if
all you need is add a title, put a the on that joint. I'm sorry.
If there's an available suite or upgrade of room, I get it for the whole week, right? If it's not, she'll put the key in the thing, she'll fold it, and she'll put the 50 back and give it back. So she got to give me my room.
Yeah.
Right? And that's just,
so
you
think it's giving you the opportunity to do some negotiating.
Listen,
slippery stuff.
I am a person who can go in a room, right? And whatever I need to get done, it's going to get done. All I need to do is to be able to engage people. and I get people motivated. I get things done. You know, that's just who I am. But the way society is now, they eliminate that because one, they don't allow individuals to make choices as far as who work for a company. They give them a hardline script and that's it. And if you say anything outside of the 5 answers they're programmed to give you, they'll shake their head and kind of reboot or go try to find somebody else. And the person they bring back is usually a little bit duller than they are. So you can't, there's no way for you to get quality service. There's no way for you to talk to anybody and even offer a complaint. You could tell somebody, listen, I don't like this room. I came in and the towels weren't folded. They look like the towels from the last person that's here. And you tell that person that now, you know what they're going to say? Okay. Yeah, but can I get another room? No.
I've never
Can
had.
I get some fresh towels?
I think that's
that I don't know how.
I don't know your experience, so I can't speak. I can't.
No, I had that in a luxury hotel in Brooklyn.
I cannot speak to your experience. So let me just start by
The
saying
words
that.
luxury in Brooklyn.
But
No, because you know they built a whole bunch of them. Yeah.
I have never been to a hotel where now I have been in hotels where stuff was just really not right. I've been to a hotel in Newark, New Jersey, traveling from here, where I literally, no exaggeration, ended up in 3 rooms before I got one that was sufficient. So I understand that, but I've also dealt with them making it right. You don't end up in 3 rooms if you don't have a hotel that's trying to be right. So,
they did. But here's just what I'm saying.
And
the
this wasn't a luxury hotel.
But no, it was. But key, listen to what I'm saying.
Newark Airport.
The person, no,
that definitely was.
This is downtown Brooklyn, right? So this is downtown Brooklyn. This
Dobro.
Dobro. This place hasn't been up for 2 years, right? And it's high end. It's one of the major brands, right? The person, I said, listen, I can't, this room. Can I get another room? No, we're fully booked. That's the only room that's available. You paid for it in advance. Can't move you. Okay, well, I need to get, some fresh linen in the room. I need the room to be serviced. The person I was speaking to was unable to address what I was talking about because the people in the company in the hotel, they do not cross-train. They make it a purpose of not having anyone from one department know what the other department is doing. And the people from the department that did room service, they were closed for the day. They were done. So I had to deal with what I had to deal with until the morning because the person downstairs who I was speaking to had no idea or function or even they didn't know how the room was made up. They didn't know what came in the room. They didn't know the standard. They knew nothing.
That sounds pretty isolated, bro.
No, that is standard now.
Okay.
It's the way they're corporate. There's a corporate thing going around and they do training. And the purpose of this training is they say if you give people training specifically to what they do and not have them know about anything else, they do it better. The problem is when you present them with an issue, they have no idea what you're talking about and they just shut down on you. Right. It's just bad. This is why prior to COVID, if you was looking for me, I would be on a cruise because the cruise line industry is like one of the only industries that actually be like, really, you have a problem? I'm sorry.
You were built for a cruise because they kiss your ass. And
I don't like that experience.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. One of the things, the only thing about the cruises that I don't care too much for is how much they kiss your ass.
Oh, I love it.
I love it.
I'll give you that money.
I am the least, pretentious person that you need. I am very low maintenance. You know what I mean? Like I didn't even wear pants for a whole year during COVID. You know what I'm saying? I'm wearing Crocs and sweatpants every day for a year. You know what I mean? Like I'm that guy.
He's done. He's not
I
going
got
back.
on Crocs and sweatpants right now. It's just what it is. Ain't no hashtag Marcus J. Live from New Dan Legacy and the radio. Having said that, though, let me just validate what you were saying because I respect it. We're different. We're very, very different. I love him. He loves me, but we're just very, very different. And it's all right. It's cool. You know what I'm saying? It's just what it is. I think that's the cool thing about men and brothers, and not a shot at sisters. I'm just talking about men and brothers for this purpose of this comment. When you can find your way to agree in disagreement without being disagreeable, that's when you know that you're dealing with some real shit and some real people. And this is a real dude here. I rocks with him. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Live from New Dan Legacy and that rating. Let me get some comments in, and we're going to talk about Antonio Bryant here in a minute. For those folks who are still watching, we definitely going to get into that. But we got some comments in. We'll get them all out before we shift. Let's see. One of my favorite people in the history of my life, my best friend in the whole world, my brother Damon, is checking us out. Pretty boy, what it do, homie? Got a lot of love for the brother. One day he was in here, and the next day he wasn't. But when we get him back in here, it's gonna be a happy day for me and that man and that sister. So peace to you, bro. Let's see. Sharonda is keeping on. And she says they're taking away our room to maneuver.
That's really what John's saying.
Yeah, I ain't mad. Lathrell says, right, Steph, luxury in Brooklyn. Nah, that's not a luxury hotel. Laurel says it's not isolated, it's everywhere. Sharonda comes back. They're keeping towels at the front desk now. I have observed situation. I definitely have seen that. I am choosing a cruise. It's a city and experience all in one. That's Sharonda. I 100% agree with you. You know, we look at that from different perspectives, but I think we agree, John and I, on cruises being the absolute pinnacle of vacationing. I don't think there's a better way to vacation. Me personally, that's just my opinion. I can't speak for him, but I think he either agrees or understands my sentiment. Our brother Tony says, I feel you, brother. I took my family to Ocean City a few years ago. First room was smelling, pulled the drawer back, and it was decomposed frog. And the second room was no better. I got nothing. I got nothing for a decomposed frog in the hotel room. I got nothing. I killed a frog today, though, y'all. I did.
Why?
Because it was in my, it was like right in my, I tried to sweep him away and he wouldn't go. And when I swept him, his leg came off.
Can we not?
He was, if you swept him and his leg came off, he's probably already damaged. He was half dead. That's probably why he wasn't moving.
Yeah, he wasn't moving. Yeah. Like he was like right on my porch.
Y'all sound like two little guys on like 10 and 12. I killed a frog today.
We don't grow up.
You did? That's what I'm looking at.
We just
saw our eyes, right?
John moved in like it was the political discussion, and I'm looking like
I didn't mean to kill him.
Y'all are definitely
I didn't mean to kill him.
Boys at heart.
I didn't mean to kill him, but he was in the space that I didn't need him to not be. And I kept going, frog, yo, you know, I was like, break yourself, fool. And he wouldn't break himself.
Well, he broke himself.
Well, I just, I got the broom because I wasn't going to touch him. I didn't want to get a wart.
Because the old people say that's what happens.
I swept and swept and swept, and he went, but his leg stayed.
Oh.
Did he die?
He's done. They don't regenerate.
I was about to ask, are they one of them ones that?
No.
So once the leg is gone, that's a wrap.
Yeah, he's not regenerating.
So a lizard will get his leg back.
His tail.
But not the leg?
No.
So I got a crippled frog in my yard?
Yes.
You did it.
You did it. And we can't say crippled.
We can't say crippled? No. What's the politically correct way to say that? Even when it's a frog?
Locomotively challenged.
Locomotively challenged frog.
Mobility deficient.
Mobility deficient. Locomotive.
I don't know. Listen, we're not trying to get canceled on the first show of 2022.
I'm just saying
because you said that word.
I had such an inappropriate thought that came across my mind that I am not going to share. But just know it was inappropriate and it tickled me on the inside.
Have you ever had frog legs?
No, it's never going to happen.
Coney Island.
Delicacy.
No.
Nathan's.
No. I never had escargot.
Escargot. Snail.
I never had escargot.
Hot snail.
I say it wrong on purpose.
Hot snail.
No. Never had venison.
Caviar.
What?
Never had fish eggs.
Never had venison.
Never had venison.
Venison's wonderful.
Lamb.
You had lamb.
Let me tell you
before.
something.
Goats.
And lamb is a miserable meat to eat. And the only thing worse than duck. Correctly. The only thing worse than duck.
You get lamb chopped.
I thought when I was eating the duck, I swear I felt like I was Little Rascals with the castor oil.
It is oil.
It was a
I love duck.
Let me get these last comments in, and we're gonna talk about Antonio Bryant. Ain't no answer on Marcus yet. All right, so Sharonda says I wouldn't even know what a decomposed decomposed frog looks like. I skipped that day. She was truant. She was truant that day. Oh my goodness. Hey Sharonda, I need you to listen every week. Like every week, I need you. I
These are
need
good
you. I need
comments.
you to listen and do this with us every week because you are just giving me life right now. Sounds like a game of Frogger from the 80s. I can dig it.
I love that.
Latrell says that the word that I should be using is disabled. Disabled frog.
Yes, thank you.
So can I get like
Latrell came through and backed me up.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that because I'll end up forever on this frog thing. Let me not do that. Damon says hopeless frog. It doesn't matter what the right word. They will change it again anyway. That's what Sharonda said. She ain't wrong.
Really feeling it.
She ain't lying. I can make that frog taste like chicken, Sue says.
It do taste like chicken, just a little bit more.
And Edie is helping me out. I keep saying Antonio Brown. It's Bryant.
Brown.
It's Brown. I'm saying Bryant.
Saying Bryant.
And y'all sitting here,
I
y'all just
corrected
watched me.
Listen,
Y'all
listen,
watched
listen.
You go back and listen.
It was
You'll
like
hear
it
me
was
say
like
Brown.
it was like
Y'all
double
watched
dutch. Every
me.
time I tried to get in, it's like it was too slow.
Y'all
You
watched
was on to
me.
another subject.
All right, you right.
We know what you mean.
Differently able.
AB.
She says differently able. They changed it again.
Yes, it's differently able.
All right, so let's talk about Antonio Brown.
Why do you want to call him that so
I don't know. Let's talk about this. All right, so here's the deal, right? I don't really want to set this up with regards to the innuendo stuff. We can get into that. We can get into that. I just want to set this up with what it was that we saw. And what we saw was what appeared to be conversation on the sideline that was getting heated. And then from there, you saw Antonio Brown, take his clothes off, his uniform and helmet and all that kind of stuff. He leaves the field. And as he leaves the field, he's playing to the crowd. He's shirtless. He's waving. And then he runs off the field. There are some reports that says that the team wanted him to go in the game when he had already indicated that he was injured.
Right.
There are some reports that says that the team was keeping him out of the game because they didn't want him to get certain stats that would help him get certain levels of money. Those two things contradict themselves. They do not make sense going together. So for those folks who want to plant their flag on either one of them, I'm looking at you with a side eye because I'm like, which one is it? Is it they wanted him to go in the game and he wouldn't because he was hurt? Or was it that they were keeping him out of the game because they didn't want him to get stats? Like to me, those two things are so contradictory. It speaks to why I don't even care about none of that.
I have the explanation just so you know.
I don't care about none of that. Here's what I care about. I care about the decorum that we did not see. I care about the class that we did not see. I care about the fact that you have someone that was upset about a conversation professionally and he stormed off, had a temper tantrum. He ran off the field and he made sure that everybody saw him when he did it. Hey, man, I'm sure he got issues with the team. There are plenty of players across all sports, across all generations that I am positive had bigger fish to fry than whatever fish this was that Antonio Brown had to fry. Where you lose me is the display because it was no longer about football. It was all about me. Look at me. I'm leaving and I'm mad. I'm out. Deuces. And everybody look at me with no shirt on, running off the field while play is going on down the field. It's disrespectful to the fans. It's disrespectful to the leadership of the team. But most especially, aside from it being disrespectful to himself because he looked crazy doing it, but it was disrespectful to his teammates, the people who he's supposed to rock with, roll with. You had an issue. I can dig it. But in that moment, when it's 50-something players on the team, it became about one guy and his issue. And that's where you lose me. And so, hey, look, I'm sure there are some folks who are going to disagree with me. This is what we do here. So, John, Steph, I got my initial diatribe out. I will have more to say about this, but I got my initial diatribe out. We got some comments. Let me see if these comments are about this. Let me see. Edie says, we saw AB. F y'all league. I love it. He's his own man. AB said, F y'all league. I'm my own man. Sharonda says, no matter what it is, the response was a trauma response. Latrell says he got a combo going on, big ego, mental health issues, possibly CTE, but we won't know until after his death. Edie says one thing about AB, the league always tried to paint him as cray, but he proved that he was right every time. I stand with AB. That's how he carried. No, he proved that he was cray. Edie, he did. Sharonda says, I absolutely can agree with you, Marcus. However, his response, I think, is based on his own mental health. That's my observation. I saw a mental health crisis. I'm never going to be okay with someone making a team thing about themselves, no matter how mad you are. So I get the whole he did his thing, but nah, Edie, I ain't with you on that one. And let's see. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry. I got another comment. I'll come back to it. I'll come back to the comment.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So first off, the thing with the differences with the injury and the stats, both things are true. What happened was he miscounted a little bit. He lost the opportunity. I think there was $1 million and a $2 million incentive or something like that, whatever it was. He lost his ability to get one, but he still had the ability to get the other if he had played in the last game. So the schemes that they were running that day did not favor him. It went back more to Ron Gronkowski. And because of that, he made note of it and decided that, he didn't want to play. So when the coach told him to go in on a particular play, that he's just a body on this play, whatever it was. It wasn't designed for him. He said he wasn't going in because his ankle was bothering him. Everybody knew he had a bad ankle, but he had been playing on it. So he said, I don't want to go in because my ankle's bothering me. But everyone took that as BS. You don't want to go in because we don't have a lot of schemes for you today. You're not getting the touches, and you realize you're not going to get your bonus, but you still were able to get this other bonus. So there was a combination of both things being true in that regard. He has definitely mental and emotional issues, but not much more than your average person. It's just that he's under a bigger spotlight, so you get to see it. People every day do that same kind of stupid behavior, not necessarily stripping down, but doing things inappropriately as a response to other things, although those things may be wrong, right? It's not, you see people jumping over counters in fast food restaurants and throwing things. You see people getting into fist fights in supermarkets. Those behaviors, although they have become accepted in our society, are not normal. When you see people doing things like that, know that those people are, I don't want to say crazy, but they have mental and emotional issues, and they need to maybe get some medication or some therapy or a combination of both to deal with it, because that's not right, people. I know y'all are used to seeing it now, so y'all kind of lean into it, but it's not right. People fight. There's no reason for anyone to get into a fist fight in the supermarket. Just isn't. Oh, she looked at me funny, or he said this. That's not fist fight time. You see road rage and all this other kind of stuff. All that type of behavior is mental and emotional trauma, and it's incorrect, and it needs to be dealt with. But just watching the way AB did what he did, he's no more crazy than the average, but he is crazy. And he looked like an idiot, like a streaker. Back in the days, you used to have people run across the sports field and take off their clothes. That's what he looked like. And then he want to talk about his ankles bad, but he did like 4 jumping jacks, a skip, a hop, and a light jog without limping. So that kind of messed up his story.
Right on off the field.
So it's
we all saw it.
So listen, in a situation like that, look, we all know the NFL is the empire of microaggression towards African American men. We know that. We know they constantly belittle them, boy them, run, fetch, do as I say them all day. You got these very large, hyper aggressive people, and they have them doing these hyper aggressive things and just going all rage. And then at the mere sight of a very small white man, they're supposed to turn it off. Right? They're supposed to get yelled at and cursed at by this little white man and not respond, but then go out on the field and try to take somebody else's head off. So it's a lot of things with the NFL that don't sit right. But he could have very easily, they got those big coats, the big coats you on the sideline. He could have put one of those on that says, I'm not going in, right? And then when he had a moment, he could have got up and walked quietly off the field, and it would have seemed as if he was going to be checked out. Like, oh, maybe he's going to put a little limp on it, walk off, and then settle everything later. What he did was immature and definitely something that somebody who's an adult should be checked out, mentally and emotionally. And they showed a hit he suffered as a was he a Raider? He was playing for another team. He took a hit and he was like unconscious on the field and shaking like a sea. So he could, from that one hit, still be experiencing some serious problems with his brain. But he's not a dumb person.
No.
Right? He has some intelligence, and he has some idea and scheme and scam to what he was doing, but he just went about it in a very piss poor manner.
My man Greg is checking us out. Greg says, why are you guys still playing funky football? He says he obviously is not a fan of it. I could dig it. Edie says he's not crazy and he doesn't have a mental illness. That day wasn't about the stats. He didn't want to play hurt. We all that league don't love these. We all know that league don't love those brown players. Yes, John. She says it's Edie. Latrell says no. They stripped down too. Sharonda says rationale with me. He had a level of control. We are rationalizing his behavior, which is never going to equate when dealing with triggers. His display was right brain dominated. We can break this down in a million pieces. We have bigger problems with MHEs. Mental health evolutions are not taken seriously. The big picture is that players are valuable. Their mental health is collateral damage. Let's see. Leah is checking us out. Leah, thank you for rocking with us. Leah says, I agree. Crazy behavior has been normalized over the years. Edie says he did what he did, so the Bucks and the league couldn't control the narrative. He's no crazier than the average. I think honestly, I'm gonna address that and then I'll get back to the. I just think you're giving him way too much credit. I think that he had an emotional response to being pissed off. That's what I think. Latrell says exactly. So I think she's agreeing. I'm not entirely sure who she's agreeing with. Sharonda says, I agree with you also, John, but unfortunately that is the norm because we are not taught how to manage our emotions, and the stigma of mental health in our communities prevents us from getting treatment and disrupting the trauma. That's the money shot comment to this whole discussion, in my opinion. Sue says he had toddler tantrum. Latrell says immature and unprofessional. John Jr. says that was some real Joanna man behavior. Steph, you got the con.
So I remember the hit you're
Good
talking
reference.
about. He was still a Steeler when they played the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, he got
knocked
laid out.
It was infamous Vontae's perfect or something like that. But that was Vontae's had tons of hits like that. I mean, you could find reels of video, and he did. He was.
I don't think
out
anybody gets right behind that.
Helmet to helmet contact. And a lot of people have said they could see the difference between then and now. I think he showed a lack of discipline in that moment, walking off the field. You give people a certain measure of control, and now they control the narrative. So what we all got to see may not be as serious of a reaction to what was actually done, but we don't have the privilege of knowing what was said and done in the locker room, behind the scenes, and so on. So what he did was he demonstrated something. They had the ability to take that thing that he did, make him a villain. And that's why so many people feel the way they do, because you did not see anything that they might have said or might have done. And the fact is, if so many of us can sit here and say, the NFL is not for these brothers, they don't care about them, and so on and so forth, why would we assume something wasn't done to trigger him and make him feel a certain way? Now, I don't agree with, again, I'm a person that's like, protect your neck, right? Don't give anybody an opportunity to take you out of your natural space. Control your narrative, make everybody think you're crazy, because he may really have a valid argument behind the scenes, but he gave them the ammunition that they needed to be able to do what they did. And that's why I always say a lot of these athletes, hip hop artists, you need a handler. You need somebody in your space that isn't just there because they always been your homie and you pay them. And and they get to just be like, yeah, AB, you that guy. No, you need somebody that's like, listen, you need an Olivia Pope. The strategy here is this. You don't like what happened. I don't like what happened either, but this is what we're gonna do. Because what he's done now has jeopardized his future. What he's done now has if he plays, continues to play. With him being a free agent, he passed all the tests for free agency. So now the question is, well, was he really ever hurt? So on and so forth. So you have that issue. But I think you can't look at his behavior prior to him taking off his shirt and doing what he did. You can't look at some previous behaviors and deny that there's something that's not quite all the way together. It's like watching Kanye Meltdown. We know Kanye's not quite all the way together. The fact that Kanye has reached out to Antonio Brown should be something that bothers most people, but it tells you a lot. He recognizes what he recognizes, and he's trying to connect with somebody that he feels a similarity with. And I'll say this last thing. I hate it for these brothers in the NFL because if you look at them demographically, the majority of them don't come from a lot. And so now they get into this space where there's money, there's opportunity, but there's also a master. And they haven't always been closely exposed to the type of master that they're going to work for. So they don't understand the strategy. They don't understand a lot of the negotiation. They hire then another white dude to negotiate with the white dude they don't really trust. And we see these things happen time and time again. And after Kaepernick, there's no way I'm going to cap for the NFL. Antonio Brown is a very small piece of evidence in how the NFL deals with their players. Now, is it a good response in relationship to his teammates? No. Does he have to care? No.
Nah, I can dig that. I respect that. I understand that. I'm one of those people who I value decency and decorum and class. Everybody has their value system. Those are the things that I value. And what I saw was void of that. And so I'm going to have heat with Antonio Brown. I understand if he felt that he was wronged. I respect that, especially if it is a legitimate concern with regards to what actually happened. But I also know that when I go to work tomorrow, it's a good bet that something's going to piss me off.
Sure.
I'm going to get mad about something tomorrow at work. I was pissed today at work. So it's a good bet something's going to piss me off tomorrow. So what am I going to do at work tomorrow? Am I going to snatch off my shirt and walk out of whatever facility that I'm in?
No, because you have mental balance.
And say, fuck that, I'm out. Am I going to do that? Of course not. And these people who want to look at the National Football League and the National Basketball Association and Major League Baseball and the National Hockey League and all of these sports leagues and say that we're dealing with master and slave type of relationship. Like, come on, man. Like, I get that there's some hyperbole going on.
Yeah, I'm not saying it in that sense. I'm saying
but
you have a new boss.
But there are some.
It's a different kind of master.
But there are some who don't see it as hyperbole. There are some that are probably even listening now who legitimately feel that that's what it is. And
no, you're getting paid, so it's not
the situation with how they treated Colin Kaepernick is going to empower them to be and feel that way. And like you said, You paying these people? I mean, come on, man. For real, at the end of the day, you are dealing with high-paid athletes who are being paid millions of dollars to play sports.
Well, good.
Millions and millions of dollars to play sports. That does not mean in any way that you accept disrespect. Because if somebody need to get punched in the face for $1 or $1 million, it's what it is. If you need to get punched in the face, you just need to get punched in the face. But I don't get to storm out of work. I don't have the wherewithal and the power and the arrogance and the frustration and whatever adjective that I can't grasp right now to storm out of work tomorrow because I'm upset about something. Maybe I'm supposed to get a bonus that I don't get. Maybe I'm supposed to get a promotion. I have gotten that glass ceiling. I've had somebody who is far less qualified than I am and I was get a job that I was supposed to get. Been there, done that in my 20s, almost 50. So I understand that. Doesn't mean that you get to act a damn monkey just because you're mad. You just don't get to do that. And for those folks that want to co-sign it, I can dig it. You ain't running out your job that way. I don't care who you are. You watching, listening to this show, call me right now and tell me that you would do what Antonio Brown did.
But
if you call me today on this show right now at 804-402-2893, and you tell me not only do I agree with what he did, but I would do it myself, and your middle class job, if you would do it the same, I ain't gonna argue with you. But if you wouldn't do it, miss me with the Antonio Brown was right and I agree with him stuff. If you wouldn't do it yourself. Let me get some comments in, and then John's got the con. And you know how Steppin Marcus, J Live from New Den, Legacy in their radio. It's a bunch of comments here, and a couple of them are long because folks want to get their comments in. So just bear with me, folks. Let's see. Let's go back to Sharonda says, yep, Marcus, and the emotional response is him responding to a previous disappointment. Edie says, in speaking from correction, I used to call him crazy when he was with the Steelers. Then he proved that they did him dirty. Same thing with the Patriots. They did him dirty, and he proved that if he was all that crazy, then Tom wouldn't have asked for him. You got to also remember, if everybody's doing you dirty, at some point you need to look in the mirror. If everybody is doing you dirty, what is it about you? Sometimes you need to own your shit. Sharonda says, for many of us, when we respond today, it is based on how we learn to respond in the past. If I felt devalued at a specific time in the past, and then this happens, it's a trigger here, my response includes the original root cause disappointment. They are all connected. Love that analysis. Edie says, some of these people could handle things differently. I agree. But everyone ain't to be played with. That's why it's best to respect everyone, because you don't know what response you're going to get. Everybody not going to respond the same, react the same. 100% agree with that. Love that comment. Lathrell says, every player gets hit. They experience something like a car crash that has an effect the brain. Combine that with money, ego, mental health, and no help leads to the type of behavior. He is in the spotlight now. But look at the other players and former players that do, quote, out the norm behaviors, end quote. There is an issue going on, and the NFL is not dealing with it. They barely admit to any of these issues, especially CTE. Agree with that. John Jr. says, on the real, head-to-head collision pause is no reason for this. This is typical. I ain't have no daddy growing up mentality. Sharonda says, yes, Steph, let's start there. It's generational conditioning. We learn how to respond. We've got to implement some poverty disruptors before allowing our brothers to get lost in the shuffle or swallowed in the sea. Lathrell says, is it true that he displayed his bank account number? If so, that shows that there's an issue beyond football. The NFL and his people are and have been failing him. Edie says, everyone is different. We are not going to react the same. I've been police escorted off 2 jobs, not proudly, because the boss was being froggy. And then Sharonda says, Marcus, sounds like you are operating with a higher level of self-control. 20 years of HR on my previous life, and folks do run out. Let's see. She's about to call in. I can't say I wouldn't do it. About the dialing, can't say I wouldn't do it. Edie says, I have witnesses and I'll do it again, especially now. It's a worker shortage. Let's see. Latrell says he acts like a person with an emotional disturbance.
That's what I'm
They
saying.
either have PTSD or traumatic brain injury. That is the last comment. Ain't no how Steph Marcus J live from New Den Legacy and the radio. Anybody that's rocking with us and wants to roll on the phone, number is 804-402-2893. That's the number to dial. If you want to rock with us, we're gonna roll with you. John, you got the
So
con.
yeah, I was gonna say one of the people online said it's a lot more common than you think. People walk off their jobs, storm off their job, break things, throw things, hit people, damage people's car. They do all kind of crazy stuff, walking off their jobs for this what we would deem the slightest of issue. So it's a common thing. This guy, like I said, I don't think he's no more disturbed than the average person. He's just in the spotlight. When you discuss major sporting franchises, you got to kind of separate football, because I mean, basketball is bad, but it's nowhere near like football, and baseball is like a country club compared to the other two. I mean, they got retirement benefits that the other two don't have. They don't have similar risks, and even still, they're dealt with on a much better level. The average football player's career is 2 years. Most of the players who play don't make millions of dollars. There's very few that make millions of dollars, what they call the skilled players or the high-profile players. And they've, what, a 50-man roster, whatever they have, maybe 30% of them make $1 million a year or more. The rest of them make salaries of people with like real good jobs. And a lot of that time, they got to give 10 to 15% of that to an agent. There are other things that come in with being a professional athlete. And with the poverty disruptors, who was that? Was that you, or was that somebody else who said poverty disruptors? We got
Someone else.
right. So here's the thing with that. People don't realize what happens. You get these kids who come from, very, very meager means, and they get into these programs at school, and it starts even at high school. The bathroom at the gym is so much nicer than the one at their house, right? They get food and drinks and stuff laid out for them at practice, right? They get all this kind of stuff, their uniforms, their shoes, they get sponsorships, they go places, and people take care of them when they go with the team. And that lifestyle, even at high school, is so much better most times than the lifestyle that they have at home. So they get accustomed to that lifestyle. So even if they don't want to play, they keep playing. They play hurt. They suffer insult and all type of stuff, and they keep playing because they want that lifestyle with a chance, hopefully, of playing in, even being on a practice squad, which I think the salary is like $45,000 to be on a practice squad in the NFL. But there's so much more just outright embodied racism in the NFL as compared to NBA or MLB. That is ridiculous. The way they structure it. I mean, they just started moving off the Wonderlic, for quarterbacks. They just started recognizing
They had to be forced to hire
right
or interview
Yes.
other than white men coaches.
right. So they
Rooney
were
Rule.
look.
Rooney
They
Rule, yeah.
just fired my guy in Miami with a winning record, but nobody's talking about the guy at the Giants. That dude don't know football, but he's a head coach. And nobody's even talking about his job right now. Nobody in the Giants organization even talking about his job. He don't need to be coaching professional football.
Well, I don't know that I agree with that, but I don't want to
But
break down the Giants.
the guy, but no, the guy,
I don't want to break down Giants football, but that's not accurate.
But everybody in football who does any kind of analysis and speaks about the way this man coaches, the way he speaks,
They all say he needs to go.
They say he's horrible.
They all say
They say he's not qualified. These are the words they use.
Yeah.
Right. My football IQ isn't high enough to make it. I'm quoting others. But I know the guy in the black man in Miami had a winning record over 3 years, and his players played their heart out for him, which is usually enough to get you to stay around. Right. He was one game away from the playoffs. Their team was going in the right direction under his leadership, and they fired him without question.
Tom Coughlin, the New York Giants head coach, got fired 3 years after winning a Super Bowl with winning record. So I get where you're going, and I'm not going to dispute it. I will say this: when you're in the National Football League or any of these sports leagues, there's something that comes with that. I went to St. Anthony High School in Jersey City, one of the 3 high schools that I went to. This high school basketball team was coached by Hall of Famer Bob Hurley. And one of my best friends, K-Dub, played on that basketball team. I found myself in a lot of those practices. And if you would have seen and heard how this man talked to these players, you would have clutched your pearls, ladies. So it's a culture that those of us who are not athletes may not necessarily be exposed to and be prepared to absorb when we see. Having said that, no pass is given to Antonio Brown for his behavior.
Not giving him a pass. And anything I said, folks, the way he handled it, I don't agree with. Full stop.
No pass. And we're going to move on because we got so much to get to tonight with a limited amount of time. So I will take the last comment on this as I transition us to our next topic. But when we look at what he did, ultimately, my opinion is the only one that matters to me because it's mine. Now, your opinions matter, but like this is what I think. And I want to talk to y'all about y'all's, but this is what I think, right? And what I think is just because you mad don't mean that you act out. And I get the whole fuck them people. I get it. I get when you leave, you flip the table on the chessboard so that the people that was playing gonna look like. I get that. I get it. There's something to be said for the feeling that you get as you George Jefferson walk away from that flipped chessboard. That's what he did. He flipped the chessboard. He felt good when he did it, and a lot of y'all are co-signing that bullshit. But at the end of the day, a lot of y'all that's co-signing that bullshit wouldn't do it yourself. You living vicariously, and that's fake and whack to me. Unless you're willing to do it. If you're not going to do it, it's fake and whack to me. And you know how Steppin Marcus J live from New Den, Legacy Internet Radio. Couple of comments, and then we moving on. Let's see. Miss Diana, my mama's friend, y'all, is listening. And she said, so glad to be able to see this, my friend's son. I'm that person. I'm the son. Hey, Miss Diane, how you doing, Miss Diane? Appreciate you for rocking. We rolling with y'all, with you. Sharonda says, yes, John. And to that point, someone with full control of their faculties would not risk a tantrum is trauma. That's real talk. If you know better, you do better and whatnot. Let's see. Edie says, did y'all hear that Bruce, she says Brian, but it's Bruce Arians. He's the coach. Response as well as Brady's. They both were different. I'm sorry I can't look at AB as an ignorant black man with no control, especially when it comes to this league who really don't respect the black man. I know that it is a consistent discussion and a consistent argument. I couldn't care less what Tom Brady or Bruce Arians says because my feeling and discussion is with Antonio Brown. It's with him. It ain't got nothing to do with nobody but him. Nobody but him. Because every day in the state of Virginia, I got to deal with racist white people. Every day. And I work in a business that they dominate, which is most. But I work in a business that they dominate. And when they look at me coming in, they don't expect me to know what I'm talking about until I show them that I know what I'm talking about. Because I got a way of dropping the mic. That's what I do, right? So I got a way of doing that. And every day I come home and I need a minute. I got to smoke my weed. I got to do what I got to do to get myself together because life is hard and dealing with people is hard. But I'm going to tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to stress myself out and strip off my clothes and run out of one of the offices that I'm in because I'm mad at somebody white for saying something racist to me. I'm not doing that.
I'm not
doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not giving a pass to somebody who acted out because they was mad at work. We call that craziness where I come from, and we also call that going postal. Those people used to shoot up the job. So if he'd have shot up the field, would y'all have been, well, you see how they treated him? The league is racist. Like, come on, man. Like, no. How far do you have to go before it's too far? That's not okay with me. So he's not getting no pass from me. Ain't no how step with Marcus J. All right, so John Jr. says John is right. Baseball is much better, but why doesn't the media call baseball players crazy when they start choking each other with fists having all out brawls, or hockey players who fight every game? Hockey players, that's 2 generations ago. They don't do that anymore.
They just had a fight last week. It was wonderful.
Yeah, but you know, the whole thing of them fighting every game like they used to, they don't do that anymore. But to address your point, I'm not okay with that either. You know what I'm saying? But to me, a fight amongst players on the football field, the hockey field, the brawl on baseball is very different than a singular person being mad at something that happened on the sidelines and performing the way he performed. Sharonda says, or committing crimes. There are different people in that game. No pass is given, but some mandatory mental health. Lathrell says, yep, some of these coaches talk their players like shit. Yeah, it's true. Okay.
All of them.
And people in blue collar jobs deal with the same thing. What are we talking about here? But we can't a full assessment without knowing what was said on the other end. Edie says that. I do agree with that. Miss Diana says, hey, yes, Miss Diana. Yes, ma'am. Sharada says, yeah, I'm not coming to Commonwealth where they take the well from the common. You got that. Damn. Sharon, I'm gonna need you to listen every week. Every week. I'm gonna call you, girl. I'm gonna call you. You listen every week. Love you. Edie says, how you handle those racist white folks, totally your prerogative. That's your right. I agree with that. Absolutely. It is. And people around me get to make a comment about me, just like me getting to make a comment about AB. Lathrell says, I thought about cussing some folks out and quitting, but I like to travel. I can dig that. My brother Damon says, at the end of the day, if your kids were watching you at work, would you quit your job the way he did? I'm sure his kids were, and a bunch of other kids as well. And he gave them cause to act that way when you don't agree with how you're being treated at work, hanging out, or whatever. Time and place. It's a BS argument to say it's okay. I'm just saying, 100% agree. Ain't no out stepping with Marcus J. Live from New Den Legacy and Internet Radio. To quote one of my favorite hip hop songs, Boogie Down Productions, 1990, Love's Gonna Get You, where they said, let us move on. As we move on
Marcus,
to another topic.
As we move on, just note though, if you ever decide to strip down your clothes and run off the job, I'm gonna laugh at you. I mean, you're my friend, I love you, but I'm gonna laugh at you.
He'll never do it.
But I'm just saying, that you get laughed at.
He just had to say that.
Just I'm laughing at Marcus.
Yeah, he just had to say that. I'm gonna chalk that up to just having to say that, because you know it ain't gonna happen with me. You already know. There's nothing that can happen in life that will cause me to do what he did. And Sharonda said it earlier. I think it was Sharonda. Yeah, I got a little more personal self-control than that. That's just me. And I could dig that. But you know, I with the tongue in cheek, I can dig it. But what he did is just not gonna be okay with me. It's just not. Sharonda says, I am sure the way he acted on the field is nothing compared to how he acted in the house. Behavior is typically consistent. John, I'm laughing too, and I'm going to offer some mental health support. Ain't no 7 with Marcus J. Live from New Den Legacy Internet Radio. All right, so I want to get I do want to get something in. John, you sent something to me earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You sent something to our group chat with
Steppin.
Yeah. I want to play that.
Please.
I'm going to play that.
I want you to play it.
And then I want to get
that's a discussion.
It is an absolute discussion. Listeners, viewers, folks who love us, folks who don't, I want y'all to take a listen and watch to this, because this is the next piece of the conversation that we're going to get into. Take a listen to this.
Thing that white people aren't ready to hear. White people who are not racist are the reason why racism is alive and well today. You've learned to normalize racism because chances are your grandparents or parents or siblings, cousins, uncles, someone in your family is racist. You have friends that are racist, coworkers who will confide their racist thoughts to you in the absence of people of color. And while you may not agree with them, you've learned to agree to disagree. You wouldn't agree to disagree about child pornography or domestic violence or harm to domestic pets, but you've learned to do that with racism and love them still. There's no surprise that you're willing to vote for someone who's racist because you've learned to basically accept people. Some of you will even marry them, all while calling yourself an ally, not realizing that you're emboldening them, complicit in your silence and your tolerance. If a racist confides in you, you're their safe space.
This entire
Ain't no half stepping
You all right?
with Marcus J. live from New Day. Legacy Edited Radio. All right, so I don't know if y'all saw what just happened, but I'm trying to multitask and do a whole bunch of different stuff. I'm grabbing a mic and I don't even have a mic, and John called me out, and I know he's talking about me and I can't hear him, but that's all right too. You got it. So John, you sent us that clip. I think there is a reason that you sent it. I could imagine, I could guess, but I'm not going to do that. I'm gonna just ask you, why did you send us that clip, and what's your thought behind it?
We had a discussion earlier in the group about we wanted to discuss the long-term effects of systemic racism, white supremacy, and things like that in society in general. And that gentleman had done something that I wanted to do for so long, which was eloquently express the way that I feel about people when they try to say, oh, well, it's not that bad. It's not that bad, or we got to just let it go, or, well, you know how it is.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah, or agree to disagree when
point.
it comes to racism. And when he said that, I have never brought it up that way. But here's the truth of it: you wouldn't do that with pedophilia. You're not gonna say, your friend is not gonna call you and tell you that their husband or their wife is a pedophile, but they're gonna stay with them anyway because that's just how it is. And that person is not gonna continue to be your friend. You're not gonna affiliate and associate with someone married to a pedophile. It's just not gonna happen. But you're saying we can't look at pedophilia and racism and white supremacy through the same glass. And I say we have to. Right? We have to. We are more upset and outraged about animal cruelty than we are about racism and white supremacy. Right? I don't even want to go into domestic violence because it bleeds over into racism. But the same difference, right? You can't have that kind of like, I'm not gonna tolerate. If I have a friend and I know that he beats on his wife, I'm not. I just like, man, listen, love you, mean it, but I can't. If you can't go get some help, I can't be with you. I can't be around you. I can't. I gotta distance myself because you're kind of like, But the fact that people are willing to do that and accept it, and that's what made everything so crazy to me during the Trump era, and now out of the Trump era, basically during the whole Tea Party since Barack Obama was elected. It's the thing that's been eating at me. The fact that people stand up next to blatantly racist people and accept their behavior and normalize things that they know are wrong and try to act like it's okay because it's been okay. No, we know better now. We know better now. Yeah, that's it for me with the comment.
What you think, Steph? I want your comment on this, and then I'm going to take us in another direction. So just comment on this and give it back to me.
Yeah, I think it's very basic. We should be at a space now where there is no straddling the fence. You either are or you aren't, and if you are, then I can't deal with you. I can't engage with you. It can no longer be, well, they're old and they still think that way. We can't make excuses for it. You know, today, Joe Manchin said that in order for them to pass the voting rights bill, it should be a bipartisan effort, meaning everybody should have to agree that people shouldn't be dissuaded from or prevented from voting. The 15th Amendment was specifically about making sure in 1972, when they reasserted it, it was about Black people. When they mentioned race, gender, class, it wasn't about gender and class. At that point, it was about Black people. And so if you think about the fact that today this is what we're dealing with, then it boils down to the simple thing of, if you tolerate any level of racism, if you tolerate any level of bigotry, if you're able to look at something and say, well, it's no big deal. Thank you. It's I don't necessarily agree with it, but I don't want to fight with it. You're making space for those little microaggressions that creep in and become big dividing lines. And so I agree. There's just no room for it. And if you're my friend and you happen to be white, but you can understand someone's perspective about why I should be marginalized, and somehow you're detached from it being about me because I'm not that Black person, or it's not something you think I'm experiencing, I don't want to be your friend simply because I don't want to have to justify my existence and why I deserve what I deserve.
Right.
I don't, and I think that should be across the board. I think that John made a good point, and the gentleman in the TikTok did too. People are still wondering why Michael Vick can work, get a job, comment, be a commentator, so on and so forth, over something that he was involved with but didn't exact himself. Because they just can't believe, like, how could you be okay with Michael Vick? He hurt a dog. And yet there is a very comfortable dismissal of the pain of Black people when you say something like, well, you know, they're 80 years old. That's why they use the N-word. No, your Mima's a racist. And every time you go over to Thanksgiving dinner and you don't correct, you're an enabler. That's what it is.
Let me be very, very, very clear about where I'm about to go. These people know what they're doing. These people know what they're saying. These people know what it is. We're not dealing with people who don't have common sense. Like, they know, because many of them call themselves Christians. And so as a Christian person, you know what it is. What we're dealing with is superiority. You legitimately think that you're better. It really is that simple. And we talk about racism and race in this country. We talk about people who are still alive, who have experienced it. My father's 79 years old, and he was one with a uniform on that couldn't eat, that was turned away. Like, that history is not so far away that it's in a book. Like, someone my age, I don't remember Martin Luther King. He died 6 years before I was born. So I need somebody to tell me about him.
But even the fact that 6 years before, but only 6 years,
only 6 years before, but see where I'm going with it. My father's life is in it. Mm-hmm. This is in it. It happened to him. You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's so personal to people like me. It's like, come on, man. And I'm no longer interested in arguing and fighting with you about it. January 6, 2021 changed me profoundly. And I know there's comments here on social media. I'm going to get your comments in. But allow me to step on the soapbox for just a moment. I'm comfortable here. Like a soapbox. Short, makes me taller. And you can hear me. January 6th changed me because as a black man, a middle-aged black man, I've been used to racism. I've always been used to racism. You should never get used to disrespect. You should never get used to being disparaged. You should never get used to people treating you like you're less than they are. But I think as black men and black people in this country, it is something that we have learned to deal with, navigate, and hope based upon how we move that it don't touch us. And when it touches others, we get mad, we get excited, and many of us are called to action. And that call to action looks different for different people. Some of us hit the street in March, and some of us will actually, spend money to help those that have been disparaged, and some of us will be encouragers in a microphone. It looks different for different people. But here's what happened to me. I saw on January 6, 2021, not that I didn't see it before, but I internalized the fact that these people don't care about nobody and nothing except for themselves, to the point where democracy, the same democracy that they claim to love so much, the same democracy that is in their constitution and is in their Bible and is so personal to them, they was able to throw aside on the word of a demagogue, on the word of a racist, on the word of a terrible, nasty, morally flawed man who should have never been in leadership. It happened because that's what they wanted as a response to the black man. Now, I'm not going to get into whether Barack Obama was a good president or he wasn't a good president, because to me, for the purposes of this discussion, it's irrelevant. This was the response, the absolute antithesis of Barack Obama was Donald Trump. And when Donald Trump was elected, we all knew what it was. This was that racist white dude that been fucking with us our whole life. Now he is in power for real. Not just at the job, because we as black men, we know Donald Trump at the job. We seen Donald Trump at the job. We deal with Donald Trump at the job. We deal with Donald Trump as the coach, to go back to the previous conversation. Like, we've seen that before. But what we haven't seen in many of our lifetimes, those of us who are of middle age now, aside from Ronald Reagan, we ain't ever seen nothing like Donald Trump before. And they haven't either. And they were empowered by that. They loved that. And for those folks that want to act like that wasn't about him, just look at the crowd. Just look at the crowd and use your common sense. You had all of these people that was waving his flag. He said, go down to the Capitol and I'm going to be there with you. Another one of his lies. And all of those people who were there to destroy democracy, to destroy the Capitol, and to kill elected officials that were adverse to what they felt was the way America should be. So we as black people in this country are looking at that. At least me, can't speak for all black people because we are not a monolith, just me. I looked at that and said, these people don't give a fuck about themselves. You really think that they care about us? These are same people who just a year earlier had all the shade for Colin Kaepernick, who all he did was kneel down and said, police brutality is fucked up. Please don't kill us. So all he did. These people stormed the Capitol. People died that day. They chanted death to the Speaker of the House and the Vice President. Two different parties, blood and cuz, woman and man. They came for them on American soil, domestic terrorism. And I have never to this day heard anybody use that phrase except for me and other black people. Now, I'm sure there's some. I said, I never heard it. Certainly not on the mainstream. So for me, just me, I changed that day. I changed how I move, I changed how I think, and I changed how I advise. These people don't care about themselves, man. So we can't be walking around all riled up in our spirit trying to figure out what they're going to do. They showed you what they're going to do. They're going to burn their own shit down because they mad. So what you going to do? Create the world you want to live in. That's it. That's it. Because that day and those people, it's a whole different thing. And when you look at how you had to, when you look at how you had to have the state walk in to Georgia in Brunswick County and get those people charged with murder of Ahmaud Arbery. This is America. You had the prosecutor there who covered it up. She's supposed to be facing charges now, but I haven't heard much about that. But they were sentenced recently. You had father and son, shooter and agitator, who were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And you had the guy that filmed it. And let me just say this about the dude who filmed it.
Roddy.
Every time I see this dude, he look like he is on the verge of tears every
is.
time I see
Every
him.
time.
Because he knows what he did. He know what he did. And in his mind, he probably don't feel like he done much. He probably don't
on
feel like
camera, he said, I don't know if this was the right thing to do, but it was too late.
But you know what else is crazy about that, John? I want your opinion on this. And Steph, I want you to follow John on this one, right? I'm gonna step off of the soapbox, and there's a lot of comments in social media, and so let me read them. I'm gonna read I'm gonna ask you, John. I want you to write it down and get your train of thought because I'm gonna ask you this question first. Read the comments, then I want you to respond, right? But I don't know if it's a comment, but it's a question. Is more of a comment. These people, Roddy in particular, filmed this. And it took a while before they were charged. But he filmed this. Want to know why he filmed it? Because he thought that it would exonerate them. They thought that they would film this man's murder and turn it over to the authorities. And in their mind, this would show that they was justified in their bullshit. So this is the America that we live in. And this is why I'm different now. I'm different now, yo. I'm really different now. I see the world different. I see race relations different. I'm just different now because now it's real clear. What you gonna do, America? You already shown us who you are. So let me get these comments in, and it's a lot. So let me read all of these comments, and it's a bunch. And I appreciate y'all. I appreciate all of y'all for being here, for listening, for watching, for rocking, for rolling. John's going to comment after I read all of these comments here. So let's see. All right. Let's go to. Let's start with Lathrell. I hate the term agree to disagree. It's a scapegoat full of BS. Our sister in Legal Tamika Robinson is checking us out. It's been a long time since you've been a part of your show, and we appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. People don't want to admit that their colleagues and cohorts are in fact racist. This is the one thing that people just refuse to see or acknowledge. It's almost as if they do acknowledge it and call it what it is, then they are making racism true. They do not want to admit it. Sharonda says, every other rights bill can get approved, but ours, phew, Steph, I will not justify my right to be a person because animal rights are more important than the black human life. Edie says racism has changed its form. It's literally used as a tactic to keep racists distracted while China out here making sons and stuff. We have all this knowledge about the subject, but still conform. Sharonda says, I was at non-HBCU in 1993 and had to leave because I was discriminated against. It happened to me. Edie says superiority and things like that is a state of mind. We have been programmed to feel inferior, and they have been programmed to feel superior. That's why it's uncomfortable when a black person walks around or feel like they are the shit and is inferior to no one. Luttrell says the history of this country is skewed. The way history is taught, when it's taught, will have you think that race, the civil rights movement happened 2 years after the Civil War happened. It's so bad that seniors in high school don't even know who MLK is, and it's not a minority of them either. Miss Diane says, sometimes I wonder why they hate us so much when they let us cook their food and breastfeed their babies. Your mom and dad come from the same era. I used to because so many of us that feel they have arrived. But I say that's because you have been brought and paid. I'm just saying, Miss Diana, I
That was
love
kind of
that.
spot on.
That's spot on, and that's an elder speaking to us, and you gave it to us in a way that only an elder can, and I appreciate you. Thank you. Luttrell says Trump gave a face to that racism and a vessel to speak their heart. Wow, that was whew. Luttrell. Ooh, one of my favorite people, Miss Beverly, Virginia Union University alumni, my sister. I appreciate you, sis. She's checking us out. She said, "Hey, MJ, looking good." Well, what can I say? I appreciate it. Miss Diana says, "Speak on it, Marcus." He says, "Fuck that capital. Maybe we should take a page out their book, but we ain't ready for that though. That's reckless and a failing thought. You gonna roll up on the Capitol with a weapon? We all know if that day, if it had been us, it would have went different. So I get the fist in the air militant stand on this. There's got to be a better way because when we say fight fire with fire, sometimes you got to have enough fire, and if you don't, you're gonna get burned up. And that's what would have happened to us that day, and we all know it. Luttrell says the media broke out the dictionary that day to find every synonym for attempted coup. Yeah.
That is so true.
Ronaldo says, Marcus, I don't think that's why they filmed this young brother's murder. I think they filmed this for posterity, just like they filmed their kills on safari or hunting in the woods. They were going and watch this and slap fives while they got drunk. I don't agree with that, but I respect that that's what you think. Sharonda says, don't get distracted. We cannot do it. They would set the Capitol on fire with us in it. And then let's see. Lee Jackson says, you're right. There's no room for racial hatred in America. Greg says, we make our oppressors feel comfortable oppressing us, and we shush our people who stand up for us. America is ours, and we're going to do. I dig that. Greg, I appreciate that. I dig that. And then Sharona says they would be like, throw the baby out with the bathwater. So there's a lot of comments, a lot of differing opinions. Y'all rocking with us. We rolling with y'all. We appreciate you. John, you got the con.
To your statement question, yeah, that I think that's why he recorded it. But guess what, Marcus? They did get away with it. It worked until it got outside of their local jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it changed. So he recorded that because he knew if he showed it to the police and to the prosecutor in that area, they would say, "Good job, man," and they did. Right? It went national on the news. It went local on the news and then national on the news. And that's when it became a problem. But where they live at, that was regular. That's normal. It's automatic. It's not even an issue. So yeah, he filmed it so that they could get away with it, and they did. But it just caught up to them when other people got involved. As far as the thing with the Capitol is concerned, my biggest takeaway from that is it's something going on in society today. I call it the Max Headroom reboot. When you give people a statement or ask people a question and they don't want to answer it, they do this thing where they like shake their head a little bit and then they go back to something that you weren't talking about. Right? Everybody to the person. I have not heard one person disagree with this statement. Had that been a group of black people, they all would have been shot.
Oh,
I have not heard one person offer a contrary statement to that statement. However, no one is then saying behind that statement, we live in a racist, white supremacist country. That's the proof. We have the proof in January 6, 2021. Proof is right there. But people will say, oh, no. That's not racist. That's something else. It's domestic terrorism. And they said domestic terrorism on NBC. Say a lot. There's a lot of that. They'll say all of that. But it wasn't any of that. That was a demonstration of white supremacy and racism. And that's all it was. And the fact that people are not prepared to accept that and stand on it and say it, it goes back to agreeing to disagree about racism.
Good point.
They're letting people get away with it. Any person I know who doesn't acknowledge the fact that that was a racist act, come on, I really can't mess with you. Because either you real stupid or you real racist or a combination. And that's just not the lane. That's not the lane that I occupy. That's not the street I live on. So, yeah. And still, if somebody who is in the audience listening, or if you know anybody, please find somebody who can put these two things together and make it make sense to me. Everybody in the world agrees without question that if that was a group of black people and they ran up on the Capitol like that and beat those policemen and broke windows,
It wouldn't have gotten that far.
But
yeah.
Wait, let me just say
that part's
well, let me
true.
just say
Okay,
if those people rushed because they had the benefit of numbers, right? If that many people rushed into the Capitol, broke some windows and was yelling, hang, and had a noose and said, hang Mike Spence, and we're going to hang and burn Nancy Pelosi. We're going to find her and do bad things to her and him. That had been a group of black people, they all would have been shot.
We saw,
and survivors would have been shot twice. Nobody has disagreed with that statement since it's been made, but no one is willing to say that we hands down live in a white supremacist, racist country, and everything that's done here is done in that name.
I mean, hey, look, there's your mic drop moment. I 100% agree with you. And for those militant black folks who misappropriate what the Black Panthers would have done in the 60s by thinking that it is a smart decision to even try that. Hey, look, I'm not going to argue with you. Because it was just a few weeks before that when they scuttled a Black Lives Matter march that was set for the Capitol.
That's exactly right.
They didn't even get to have it. They didn't even get to have it. This is the same Capitol where a black woman in a car got shot up because she got too close. So, hey, look, I love us. I love us more than you will ever know. I am one of us. I ain't got to sell me with black folk. I will just say this. For those black folks who want to say, man, I woulda, all right, and you would have died. They would have shot you. They'd have shot you like a dog right there on them steps.
Yeah.
So
black heroes don't live.
I get frustrated often with us when we have this narrative of what we would have done
if I was a slave.
You know what I'm saying? Like this narrative of what we should do or what we would have done, when we don't account for the reality. When the reality is we got to be smart about how we deal with these things. And it's not smart to roll up on a gunfight with a knife when you 13% of the population, but you want to fight with 65%. Physically, there's ways around that. And as a scholar, we can brainstorm those things and how we go about it. But the way that you don't do it is direct physical action. Physically action, fight. Unless somebody
Brute
comes
force doesn't work.
unless somebody comes for you.
Right.
And people misinterpret what Malcolm X said. Malcolm X didn't say go beat up white people. Malcolm X said be peaceful. But if someone puts their hands on you, send them to the cemetery.
Or if they come to your yard.
That's what he said. That's what he said. So I just get frustrated with this narrative of what we should have done. When we look at somebody like Colin Kaepernick, who had it right. It didn't work out, but he had it right. Ain't no how Steppin, Marcus J, live from New Den, Legacy, Internet Radio. Let me get a couple of comments in, and then we're going to start moving towards our transition of a close. Sharonda says, don't get distracted. We cannot do it. They would set the Capitol on fire with us in it. They would be like, throw the baby out with the bathwater. Edie says, well, keep crying about white supremacy. So war has been won without bloodshed, yet we die and kill senselessly every day. What's your solution? Is your solution to roll up on the Capitol the way they did, Edie? I mean, if it is, we can talk about it, but, ain't nobody here crying about white supremacy. We identifying what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with white supremacy. And we trying to figure out a right way to deal with it. But the right way to deal with it is not to run up on the Capitol like they did. That's just nah.
That's all feeling based.
Yeah, that's feeling and frustration.
Yes.
And
that's all
and
fair.
boastfulness. And I could dig it because I share those emotions, but I also have restraint. And I also have common sense to know that certain things ain't gonna work out for you no matter how mad you are. We can ask Antonio Brown about that. He ain't got no job now because he mad. He mad with no job. How Steppin, Marcus J. Latrell says, when January 6th happened, there were pictures on Facebook of the Black Lives Matter protests where there were more police presence than police academy graduation. Edie says, we keep stating the obvious about the between black and white. I'm just trying to understand my people now. We have a way more knowledge freedom than our ancestors, but yet still stay. Why don't we leave America is the question. Where you gonna go? Where you going? Where you going?
And let's not.
Where are you going?
Like,
and how you gonna deal with it?
And let's not act like anti-black sentiment doesn't exist everywhere. There's a reason that Afro-Latinos are constantly trying to make their voices heard. Blackness is not valued anywhere. There are parts of Africa where
I just want to
where
know
blackness isn't valued. I agree
these
with her
repatriation black people. Where you going?
I agree with her
going?
that we should always seek our best options and opportunities, whatever that looks like for you. But leaving the country doesn't mean
I just get frustrated
you won't
by
experience.
I get frustrated
things.
by that point. Steph.
Yeah,
I get frustrated by that point.
And everybody ain't got it to leave.
Everybody ain't got it to leave. But for those folks who do, where you going? You gonna go to England? You gonna go to France? You gonna go to Europe? How about you go to Africa? It's colonized there too. So where you going? You gonna go to the Caribbean? It's colonized there. Where you gonna go? I just want to know because I might want to go there too. I haven't figured it out. I ain't got all the answers.
I have
there.
friends that live in lots of places.
I would love to know where you gonna go in the world and not have to deal with white supremacy.
And
where you going?
And their racism may not be as overt. We have overt, clear.
And I also
racism.
think that the grass is green. The grass ain't always greener. So greener. So where you going where it's greener? And I'm not asking this to be an asshole. I'm asking this because I want to know. I hear all of these black folk all the time talk about, well, we should just leave America. Okay, I can dig it. We're going to leave America.
Going?
Where we going?
I've been a lot of places. Ain't nowhere better.
I've been a lot of places too.
I never went someplace and said, I don't want to go back there.
I'm not one of them black people.
I'm coming back.
I'm one of them black people who has been fortunate enough to leave this country. First time I left this country, I was 15 years old. The last time I left this country, I was in my 40s. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not saying this to boost myself up. I'm saying this because I've seen the world.
Yes.
I'm one of those that are fortunate. So what I want to know from whoever has the answer, where we going? That's better. And I'm not saying it's great here. It's fucked up. They treat us like shit, right? But
relative
to the rest of the world, where we going? And if somebody has an answer to where we can go, we're gonna go to Liberia.
And also,
that's where we're going. We're gonna go to Liberia.
Don't get it twisted. The power that you have here, you will not have anywhere else. Simply being Black and American and walking into another country doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're gaining a certain level of status in class.
They ain't feeling us there.
Yeah, you know.
Let me get these comments in. Shavonda says, I say this about other things, and racism is included. Too often we become comfortable in our discomfort. We're distracted by the things we like and forget that as people we are being demeaned, dismissed, degraded, divided, dishonored, and destroyed every day. Latrell says, we would be in a civil war right now if January 6th was done by Black people. Real talk.
Oh my God.
Edie says the reality is they're going to keep their foot on our necks if we keep asking them for anything. I 100% agree with that.
I agree with that.
I haven't agreed a lot with we've talked about with Edie tonight, but that right there, you might have gotten the comment of the night. I can dig that, sis. I can dig that. Latrell says, not shot like a dog. We would have been shot like a Black man reaching for his wallet.
Or a pack of Skittles.
Okay.
Yeah, Latrell, you nailed that one.
Latrell, you nailed it.
You don't got to be a dog. They wouldn't do that.
Edie says, let me call because my comments are out of context. I can dig that too. I've been giving out the phone number all night, and the phone number is in the comment section of this post. So 804-402-2893. I give it every show, and you've called before. So let's get it.
I want to.
We have a limited amount of show left, but if you can get in and we can get you in, then let's get it. Latrell says we have to deal with white supremacy and house in words. Sharonda says they're going to Wakanda. That's where we can go.
They're going
Wakanda.
to set up Wakanda.
We can go Wakanda.
I hope we
Latrell
can find
says
the
other
vibranium.
countries are just as racist and some just hate America. Sharonda says the grass may be greener, but the water bill is certainly higher. Let's see. Yeah, I hear it. I got you, bro. I got you. I'm good at this. Let's see. People, I hear you, callers. Give me a second. Latrell says people don't realize how powerful our passport is, but I would move if I had a good job. All right. And you know how Steph Marcus J live from New Dan Legacy and that radio. Caller, you on the live line? Is this Edie?
You know it. Hey, y'all. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And we appreciate you, sis. I love you. And thank you for being a staunch supporter for us and our people. We don't always agree, but I love your intellect and your insight. Let's get it. We fighting or what?
Real quick, long story short, this is what I'm saying. This is going to be a recurring situation. There's not going to be no miraculous type of like person or something that's going to bring change about white supremacy, right? We all understand racism, right? It's like the superior race, whatever they want to call it, however they want to call it. If I'm a white person or if I'm white people in power, I ain't giving y'all nothing.
No, they're not.
If you want to keep asking me for it anyway, because at this point we done played nice, we done did everything. Then we have to look at the stuff within our own communities. We're dying senselessly. We're killing each other senselessly. But you mean to tell me we can't go fight for that? We can't go fight for our freedom? We can't go fight to get our voices heard? There are going to be casualties of war. That's every war. But at some point, we're going to have to start demanding versus, well, we're going to approach it this way. These are sadistic, demonic, evil people you're dealing with. They ain't doing nothing but looking and laughing. So when you think that, not saying that racism and white supremacy isn't real, but when I see a white person, I ain't acting inferior with them. We're going to be equals here. And you're going to understand that. Boss, whoever, old lady next door, we're equals here. You're not my superior. And if we keep walking around thinking that with an oppressed state of mind, that's how we're going to move. That's how we're going to act. And it's going to come out. It's going to subconsciously come out because you're really not going to realize because it's how you've been trained and programmed to act when it comes to white people. We have the means, the knowledge. We have so much that we can do to intersect or interrupt this whole thing they got going on. But if we keep this, that, even down to Donald Trump. You ain't gotta like him, or you ain't even gotta agree with him, or anything. We get that part. But if this is the dude who in power, okay, we're gonna have to negotiate with the enemy regardless if we want something, because there ain't no president that's been in that seat that's ever been for black people. I don't care who it is. We're Republican. Not now one of them, because if it was, we would not still be going through this or keep still talking about the same thing when it comes to how to get out of this mess, far as being, as far as racism. As far as white people goes, if they're always going to be in power, they're going to make sure that they're in power because they look out for their own. They ain't with that kumbaya, but you get it where you can get it. Just like look at all the other races of people that come to America. They have direct allies to homeland. They're getting something out of the deal. You best believe that. They're getting something out of the deal. And don't get it twisted. There's a lot of black people who left America. Me personally, I don't believe you're going to get the same freedoms anywhere else other than America. So now you have to rethink that question. Okay, what am I really oppressed about? Yeah, I get it. I do get systemic racism. I'm not saying that's not a thing. But me, Aisha, I walk around free every day. I do what I want. I spend what I want. I go where I want, unlike some other people. So if you want to stay oppressed, you're going to keep being that. But we have to, at some point, acknowledge I'm not as oppressed as probably my ancestors were, because I have education. I can read. I can do anything I want to do. We just got finished talking about Antonio Brown, a black man who's making multi-millions of dollars. That gives you ground to do anything you want to do. So as a point, we have to be accountable as people. I'm not keep walking around here. I'm oppressed. I ain't oppressed. There are some things that I don't like, absolutely. But I travel when I want, been to another country, buy what I want, drive what I want. If I want, can live a nice life next door, because we moving next door to them and they hate it. That ain't oppression. That's personal prejudice. And I don't care if you don't like me, if you black, brown, yellow, red. I don't care if you don't like me. You stay in your lane, and I'm gonna stay in mine, and I'm gonna keep living this life till God ready to call me home. So we have to, as black people, we have to do our own work and build our own resources, especially our economic resources, because as long as we keep marching and keep banging and keep asking and keep knocking, they ain't doing nothing but laughing, because it don't take all these years after slavery has ended for us to be looked at as equals. Now, the question is, are we looking at ourselves as equals? Because they only going to treat, how people say, people going to treat you how you treat yourself, like a woman. They only going to respect you how you respect yourself. Are we treating ourselves as a superior? Or are we walking around like we are inferior to people?
You hitting on every.
So that's my point when I say those type of things. It's just because if you sit down and you got to have a business conversation with a racist, you're not condoning his personal prejudice, but you're trying to get something done. Because even with the racists, guess what? They still use us to make their systemic racism go round. We ain't dealing with the black people because we don't like them. They don't carry it like that. They still don't like us, and they bring us in their circle because they get what they can get from us, and we sit there so timid. No, it's time for negotiation. You get something from us, we want something from you.
You hitting on all cylinders tonight, man. I mean, if I was interpreting, or we were interpreting your comments in social media the way I'm interpreting, or we're interpreting how you're talking, then we would have been communicating different, because
I'm not the best texter. I'm not an emailer.
Yeah.
I'm just straight. I gotta say what I gotta say.
Hearing you talk, you are absolutely nailing it, and I'm 100% with you.
That's what I was trying to come across.
Yeah.
With the words, but this one, and all in a nutshell, is my people. What we doing?
Yeah.
I ain't asking nobody for my freedom. I'm not doing none of that. Just like you and most of us that's listening, Steph and John, we don't do things to jeopardize our freedom. We're not murderers. We're law-abiding citizens. So we're not doing anything to jeopardize our freedom to get put in prison. So I ain't going around here asking for my freedom that I already got because I do what I want when I want, being black. And that's just facts.
Yeah.
That's just facts. You got college grads on there. We are doing things that our ancestors was never allowed to do, that they got murdered to do. That is progress.
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny that you bring that up, and it's
baby to college. That is progress.
It's funny that you bring it up and that you say it that way, because it's not often that we give that credit, and so I appreciate that you give that credit.
We have to start acknowledging the little things. So it's like, what do we have the thing, like, we really sit back and calm down and not be so emotional. And what I mean, like, be emotional, you want to pull out on me, I'm gonna pull out on you. You know what I'm saying? Because we give away our rights by doing this criminal behavior sometimes. But no, when we are law-abiding citizens and we got our permits and we got the right to bear arms the same way, they're going to come different. They're going to come different every time.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I appreciate you for rocking with us and listening.
Of course,
we get ready to move towards the close. Keep listening, because we get ready to do some missing children.
Okay, I got y'all.
We're gonna do a moment in
Y'all be
history.
safe out there, and y'all be safe and all that good stuff. And Happy New Year again.
Happy New Year, sis. We appreciate you.
Happy New Year, sis.
And
y'all.
You got it. Ain't no how Steppin with Marcus J, live from New Den Legacy Internet Radio. Steph, you wanted to take the final comment on this before we move on?
I will just say I agree with personal accountability, or accountability for us as a people. I do think that we need to recognize the difference between the impact of a systemically built-in fix and behaving as though we're oppressed. We do need to be able to see the differences there. But I agree with what Edie's saying in a greater sense. What I wanted to say was, and it kind of hinges on her thing of not being so concerned about what they think or what they are doing. You can see from the amount of people that went home, were charged but went home. The judges reduced their sentencing and things like that after January 6th. You can see from the fact that people like Jim Jordan and Mark Meadows and other political figures who were directly involved are just refusing to answer questions about it and being allowed to. You can see that there is always going to be a group of people who have a past. And because we know that, we should move accordingly, which kind of hinges on what she was saying, in the sense that, all right, we already know. It's like if I'm playing Uno with somebody who cheats, if I'm playing spades with a cheater, I already know. So I'm either not sitting down at the table, or the whole game, I'm just calling you a cheater. I'm calling you out and I'm still making my moves. But you know, and I know. And we just keep it pushing.
Yeah.
I think in the case of January 6th, that was just a slight opening into all of the other things that we're seeing coming, CRT and everything else. But what I can tell you, on the basis of the people who are speaking out and representing that weird contingent of America that believes the way that they believe, those people are not smarter than the rest of us.
Of course they're not. Ain't no hashtag Marcus J, live from New Den Legacy in that radio. Get the last few comments in before we move towards the close. Latrell says you should see these white parents' faces when we have educational meetings and the whole evaluation team is black and there's a doctor among us. Miss Diana says, all I can say is Willie Lynch is still at work. Say word. And Latrell says it hurts their feelings and they are mad, especially when we don't agree with them. They will even refuse to address the doctor on our team with their proper title. It's ridiculous.
Surprised.
Racism is alive and it ain't going nowhere. And hashtag Marcus J, live from New Den Legacy in that radio. All right, so let's get these missing children in. My least favorite part of the show, as we move to transition to our final phase of the show, where we profile our local missing children and we get our moment in Black history. And then we, of course, close out with our own rant and all our closing. Latrell says, you notice Putin got a broker since he got bolder. I'm sorry. You notice Putin got bolder since January 6th. I haven't noticed that, but yeah, it's Putin. He be wilding all the time anyway. So we're looking for Destiny Davis. She's been missing since December 28th in Henrico. It's a suburb of us here in the capital city of Richmond, Virginia. Destiny Davis is a 15-year-old Black female who's 5'6", and she stands 5'6" and weighs 145 pounds. Last seen wearing blue jeans and a light blue puffy coat. If you've seen her, contact the Henrico County Police Department at 804-501-5000. We're looking for Sarah Goodman since January 3rd, 2022. Here in the city of Richmond, 15-year-old Black female who's 5 foot, 100 pounds. Last seen carrying a pink duffel bag. She's got a scar on her right arm and a mole on her neck. If you've seen Sarah Goodman, contact Richmond City Police Department at 804-646-1211. We went to Henrico. We went to Richmond. Now we're going to go to Chesterfield and look for Kanarja Horn. January 5th, she's a Black female, 16, 5'4", 100. She wears glasses, has a tattoo of a rose on her right hand, and she was possibly wearing yellow and orange pajamas. If you've seen her, please contact the police department at 804-646-5100. So we're looking for Kanarja Horn. We're looking for Sarah Goodman. We're looking for Destiny Davis. If you have seen Destiny, Sarah, or Kanarja, please contact the National Center for Missing and or Exploited Children on their website, missingkids.org, or contact them at 1-800-LOST, 1-800-843-5678. Still getting comments. Edie, we just had her on the line. She's still with us. Appreciate you still staying after hanging up. You stayed with us. We appreciate that. She says, yeah, because he ain't played with Trump. The orange guy was respected. Trust they ain't play with him. I don't know if I would say he was respected. I don't know about that one. Yeah, I don't know about that one. This week in Black history, we'll go back to New Year's Day, 1863. Abraham Lincoln signs the Emancipation Proclamation abolishing slavery in Confederate states, but not in non-rebelling slave states like Delaware, Maryland, Kentucky, and Missouri. Let's see. We're also looking at 1959. Richard and Mildred Loving plead guilty to violating Virginia law against interracial marriage and receive 1-year sentences in prison unless they leave the state for 25 years. Wow. Okay. 1811. The largest slave insurrection in United States history begins in Louisiana Territory. After their defeat, many of the 500 rebelling slaves are mutilated, decapitated, and burned alive. Oh, my goodness. I'm going to do one more. Let's go to 1961. Mobs of white students riot and school officials suspended Shailene Hunter and Hamilton Holmes after they become the first Black students integrated at the University of Georgia. My goodness. All you got to do is integrate, and you might just get burned alive if you try to integrate school. Okay. Wow. Okay. You had to send in the whole National Guard for Ruby Bridges, a little baby, to go to school. To go to school. So yeah, we talk about white supremacy. They it's hard. I'll just say this and then I'm gonna move on. Matter of fact, you know what? I'm gonna save that for my rant. John, you got the con. It's time for your rant. It's time for your closing. I'm gonna say what I'm about to say for my rant because I wasn't gonna be brief.
I'm gonna ask for forgiveness from my audience and from my co-host here because it's been a little while and tonight has been fiery. And I would like you all, my co-hosts, to acknowledge that I have been under somewhat of a good bit of control, not my normal self, based on what we was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Do I get credit for that, Marcus?
Here goes that Aquarius needing a pat on the back. Come on
Yeah,
over here. Let me
that's
give
my
you
love
Huh?
language.
let me go
Huh?
affirmation.
Yeah,
Huh?
that's my love language.
Huh?
Good.
Huh?
Come on.
John, you have been very, very reserved tonight.
That was the word I would use.
And it makes me wonder what the hell we're gonna get next week. But I'm gonna take this gift this week. But I like
Oh no,
I
it's
like
gonna stay this way.
I like it when you are authentic. So if this is
That's
authentic,
what I like.
then I'm gonna rock with it.
This is
because
authentic
I have changed. I used to be very fiery. Now I do it in spurts.
And I have changed because
Have you changed, John?
I have changed.
Okay, you
I've
got the
changed,
card.
and a lot of that has to do with Steph, and a lot of it has to do with a lot of other friends who have given me a mirror to my actions and see where they contradicted my true demeanor. But let me get to my rant so we can close out. I wrote some words down, and they were just keywords to keep me on track to what I wanted to speak about in my rant, because Edie had a lot to say, and a lot of what she said, I understand it from an emotional aspect. First word I want to say is narrative. That is our largest problem in this country, and even more so the world. We have no narrative. We have no control over the narrative. Since I've been on the show, I've spoken about an agenda for our politics. That is a form of a narrative. We have no agenda, we have no narrative, and we do not control the narrative that we have. And this is why we have problems and discussions among ourselves that seem a bit absurd. But you have to realize the fact that we are having discussions about some of these things is insane. We are speaking about fundamental, basic human rights. We are speaking about being cared about equally as dogs, not more. We didn't ask to get treated better than. We asked to be treated as well as they treat dogs. Be as considerate about us as you are about dogs. And that's our conversation. And we're not recognizing the insanity of even having the conversation. But we're going to go on and keep having it. And here's the problem. It is no longer about suppression or oppression. That's false. Nobody's oppressed and suppressed. What we are is indoctrinated. All right? Think about that word. So I gave two words, narrative and indoctrinated. That's what we are in this country, because we believe the hype. Edie had a lot to say about different things and her freedoms and things she's allowed to do while being black and things that's all false narratives. Because the idea that she can do it, but she said her aunt better than her ancestors. No, you're way worse than your ancestors. And I'm not talking about 2 and 3 generations back. I'm talking about your real ancestors. White rule in the world has only been around about 500 years. The world is much, much older. Black people gave Europe back to the white people in 1492. Up until then, they ruled nothing. But they won't tell you that, right? They're not going to tell you that for you to understand that your history is a lot longer than 1619 and something like that. And no, most of us didn't come over here on a boat. We were here. We were found here. And we were conquered. We lost the war. There's no more war to fight. We're a conquered people. what we have to do before we can wage another war is regroup in order to become a nation, in order to form an army, in order to fight. But we can't do that because we're too dispersed and indoctrinated. We're too ready, willing, and able to listen to and believe what the people who formerly oppressed and suppressed us have told us about ourselves. They give us a description of ourselves and we use it. And we go out and conduct our lives based on what they tell us we're supposed to do. That's indoctrination. Right? Some of the other stuff, I'm sorry, some of the other things I've had written down, I don't want to keep going deeper and deeper into it, but we need to understand these things, right? We need to understand about the true transatlantic slave trade went the other way. Black people from the islands going over to Europe to become slaves. That's how the slave trade started, right? That's how they got the idea to go to Africa to get black people to bring them over here to work in the Caribbean, not in the United States. They wasn't even here yet. They established a foothold in the Caribbean and in South America, and that's where they brought Africans from Africa over to work, not because they wanted to bring them over, but they had killed all the black people that they found. And they were unable to work the land. So they went where they knew they had more black people, that was in Africa, and they brought them over. That was the slave trade. So don't believe the hype. Don't believe the indoctrination of what they're telling you. White supremacy and racism are not true in their own space, right? White people are not racist because they don't like black people. White people are racist because they're insane and they're poorly educated and they're miseducated. This is how that comes about, right? And we have to understand something else about white folk. In the world, they're about 11, 12% of the population of the entire world, but they control everything, right? And what they are fighting for is their survival. Folks, without the idea of white supremacy and racism, white people cease to exist. Because if you allow for equality and equal rights among people and freedom of choice, they will give it 150 years and you will not have one white person on this planet. They know that. So it is their job to want to survive. It's in their doctrines. When they speak about white supremacy and neo-Nazism and stuff, they say for the longevity of the white race and may a white woman never suffer. That's part of their thing. Because they know if they allow everyone else equality and freedom, they won't be around. 150 years is all it takes to eliminate every white person on the planet. Because you give people freedom of choice and equal choice. And guess what's going to happen? People are going to mingle. It's going to happen. People are going to go around and guess what? When did it become nationally illegal? When did it become nationally legal in this entire country for black people and white people to marry or even have a romantic relationship? When did it become nationally legal? Does anybody know?
Well, we just did a moment in Black history in 1959. They was trying to send the Lovings here in Virginia to jail. So it's certainly
I'm about to shock you.
It's certainly been some time
up
after
until
that.
2000.
Yeah.
It was illegal in Alabama for a white person and a black person to have a romantic relationship.
Not surprised.
2000. It was still illegal. You could still go to jail and do jail time for having a romantic relationship in the state of Alabama in the United States in 2000.
Although federally 1967.
Right. But the state's law overrides federal. So you did something in the state, you was going to jail in the state.
Right.
So understanding that, knowing that this is what's going on, we got to stop trying to pretend to fight a war that we already lost. We got to regroup. We got to make our own narrative, and we have to try to begin to resist the indoctrination. The freedoms that we believe we have, we really don't have. Because try to do it without the paperwork. Try to get on a boat without a passport. Try to go through the airport without your proper ID, this, that, and other. I mean, you have freedoms, you can do things, but guess what? Go back 1,000 years and our people were traveling the whole world when they felt like it, how they felt like it, without any kind of stop, frisk, or question, or where's your papers. So this little bit of nonsense we getting right now is nothing. It's light work. We have to work on breaking the indoctrination, understanding the truth about ourselves, who we are, where we're from, and understand what we are up against. We're up against a group of people fighting for their survival because they cannot survive unless we are oppressed, depressed, and indoctrinated. That's my rant.
You know, hashtag Marcus J live from New Den, Legacy Internet Radio. Steph B, you got the con. It's time for your rant. It's time for your closing. What you got, sis?
So, first of all, it's nice to be back with you, brothers. John, Marcus.
Even him?
Yes, yes. Even this new version of
Even him?
Yeah, yeah. and even during the rant, I could see he's still
I
in there.
liked his rant.
I liked it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
liked
he's
his
still
rant.
in there.
But I checked it. Though.
Yes, yeah. But you know what? This is a safe space, John.
You can say whatever you
2010.
want, but I liked your rant.
John's views are his own, but
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
But I liked your
you
rant.
notice I ain't used none of my keywords.
No,
yeah,
you
you didn't call
didn't.
anybody stupid. I was quite impressed. Quite impressed.
Doesn't mean he ain't stupid.
It doesn't mean it. Doesn't mean he doesn't think
Just
it.
because I don't call you stupid, don't mean that you ain't stupid.
That's right. He's just being nice. So I'm kind of focused on Hustlers Hive Radio. I have been talking about opportunity.
Your Coca-Cola moment.
I've been talking about opportunity. You can catch me there on 105.3 here in Richmond, then streaming on StreamYard on YouTube on Hustlers Hive. And then starting on Friday mornings, 5 a.m. to I think 6. Don't get me twisted. I'll announce it. I'm gonna be on ESPN radio here in Richmond. So we'll be talking about it'll still be the same thing. Hustlers Hive is CNBC with swag. You know, we talk about things that are culturally relevant. And I have always, execution is my life word. I'm an anti-empowerment individual. I'm very focused on execution. And I've always believed that empowerment has been the dream we've been sold, when action was the way that we could actually realize the dream. Execution, right? But what I add to it this year, when I look at what motivates me, this year's word is opportunity. And when we talk about personal accountability, we speak about who we are and what we're required to do. I also think about the fact that there's a lot of times that we can give each other space to grow and develop. We can provide each other and offer each other opportunity. And then we have a responsibility to take that opportunity and do something with it and actually create the things that we are waiting for people to give us access to. And something that has happened with us, I believe, just watching how we move, is that the more we get individually, the less we grow as a team, the less we grow as a unit. Corporations require it. You know, hey, we're all here to work together to grow the corporation, to grow the company. You could be the administrative assistant, but if you don't help the salesperson, you're getting in the way of the growth of the company. They expect it in university settings. Why do you think group projects? They're teaching you how to work together, how to deal with conflict, how to be able to manage your personal responsibility within a group. And then you get culturally. I happen to be watching a Netflix documentary about a man, I believe Vietnamese, but please don't misquote me. I believe Vietnamese. He created all of the donut shops. He's the reason Dunkin' Donuts can't get a foothold in California. It might be Cambodian. And he was saying, and it's relevant because of this, he was saying, they were like, well, how did you get it? How did you get these, 70, then 80, then, 100 donut shops that are run by Cambodian families in California? And how'd you become a millionaire doing it? And he said, well, when families would come here, he worked for someone that had a donut shop, and he realized he could do it himself. And then when families would come here from Cambodia, he would sponsor them to get their own shop. And lots more started coming to him saying, we want a donut shop too. And now when you're in California, you see all these small donut shops that are Asian ran, and all of them are attached to him. They call him Uncle Ted. It's an excellent documentary for looking at how people move culturally, connected to one another, and understanding that we don't have to have groupthink in every area, but we do have the responsibility to come together and process for the greater good if we want to expound on and create new opportunities for our own people. But something he said in there really captured me, because I know that when Black people say something similar, and you do have some Black thought leaders who say this, they get beat up on. He said, I only do business with my own people. He named the actual, and it was Cambodian. He said, I only do business with Cambodian people. I only do business with them. He was very emphatic. He didn't pause. He didn't explain it. He didn't think he needed to expound. Yeah, I only do business with Cambodian people, give them a loan, blah, blah, blah. Moved on. He recognized that they were not going to get an opportunity to exceed the dreams that they had coming here, or to excel in a way that made them independent of the system that he appreciated being here. He loves America, but he was smart enough to know that you can love this place and you can decide, I'm not leaving and I'm not going anywhere else because my experience here is better than everywhere else. But I'm going to make the opportunity to exist outside of those people who don't want to see me do well, which means we're going to create a unit within this unit. No one's saying to him, oh, he doesn't love America. As a matter of fact, throughout the documentary, he's meeting with presidents from Trump all the way back. I think Jimmy Carter, all loved him. And his commitment was specifically to his community and creating opportunities within it. And what we have done is we have allowed people to gaslight us into believing that we're racist when we say you should support your own people. But it's bigger than supporting. It's bigger than going in and buying one or two things from them. It's verbally supporting their businesses, their goals, their dreams, their initiatives. It is more than spending money. It is investing with them or coming together and investing as a group. It's giving advice, wise counsel. It's understanding that sometimes, as in your space, whatever you do professionally, you might be the only one doing it that looks the way you look. You can look around your office and say, I'm the only Black saleswoman. I'm the only Black man doing this, that, and the other. But you don't recognize that if you're the only one in that space, that means for the majority of the time, when people who look like you are purchasing, investing, or getting their education about how to move in this world, it's coming from people who don't look like them and who may not culturally know how to communicate with them and who don't care about their success. So if you're the only one in your corporate space that knows this, that, and the other, if you're the Black attorney, if you're the Black physician, dentist, whatever, if you're the Black sales pro, if you're the Black small business owner, the only way that you really are feeding the system is with your knowledge and by creating new opportunities for other people. And the word opportunity is really what's missing in the center of our thought process as a culture. We miss it with one another in love relationships. Woman gives a man a chance. He doesn't take the opportunity to expound on that chance and to expand her experience with him. No, he's going to make the same mistakes and expect new opportunity to do it again. Right? We go into corporate America, we get an opportunity. We look around, we complain and cry every day. Well, I'm the only one there and they don't get me. But we don't make space for other people that look like us because we want to be the only one. All of this need that we have can simply, and I'm not saying we don't need, we need resources, we need money, we need capital, we need all of these things, but all of this lack that we experience, in spite of the fact that we think we're moving much more freely than we used to, all this lack that we're experiencing, if we go back to before Black Wall Street, if we go to Rosewood and the fictional cities that they write about but reflect other small Black communities, every single thing that was done in those spaces were done based on opportunity. You can't go and bank at a white bank. So now there is a Black banker giving you the opportunity not only to bank with him and put your money somewhere, get some interest, but also to be able to borrow. We have to get to a point here in America, and if last year didn't scare you, just seeing how comfortable and confident they are in their mess and being very, very clear that they're willing to create more mess and they know they won't be in trouble for it. If that didn't bother you or put a little tiny concern in your heart, because we've been living real free. And what you saw is, what is it? Freedom ain't free. Freedom ain't free. So if you acknowledge that and you saw everything that happened last year, you should be focused on creating opportunity for the greater good. And the greater good right now needs to be cultural. There are not other people that need you to move them forward. I have plenty of white people in my lives, professionally, as friends, whatever, acquaintances, whatever. But culturally, your own people, Black people, need you, other Black people, to create opportunity through education, through knowledge, through sharing. Everything doesn't have to come with $1 and a dime. If you care, create opportunity for others. And that's my rant.
Hey, have Steppin Marcus J live from New Den, Legacy Net Radio. I'm going to get these final comments in before I take us home. Let's see. We got a couple comments in there. Let's see. That's how far back we go. Let's go back to. Man, it's a lot. Y'all love us. They love us. They really love us. All right, let's go back to Edie. Man, they ain't playing with Big T. They thought he was crazy for real, and would nuke with no problem. Trump ain't gonna nuke his future wife, Pooh. Latrell said that. Edie, no narrative that we control. Look who controls the propaganda that puts out the narrative. She's agreeing with you, John. Edie, yes, John, yes. Miss Diana says, you speak on it. Edie says, when have been enslaved starting 640 AD by the Arabs? Oh, I know the real. Trust me, I know that I'm Aboriginal in this country. Sharana says, it's another example of generational conditioning. They've learned to hate. Miss Diana says, yes, interracial relationships are scary to them as well. Edie says, yes, John, they are dying out, and that's a part of the LGBT advocacy. And if you notice the interracial dating, respectfully, the career cheerleader, our sister and yours, Cara Presley, is saying, hey, happy New Year.
Cara.
Yeah, Edie says, John, that's a whole nother story for another day. You are right. The sooner we understand that, the better we'll be. Yes, Steph. And to start, we have to begin with the Black family structure, starting with Black masculine men and Black feminine women. This is Edie. And she continues, You better fucking preach, Steph. Miss Diana says, I don't want to get beat up on, but for me, I feel that white folks that was not about the insurrection have shown things to make me feel this way. So for me, there's a lot to be said for a lot of us. Let's see. Sharana says, yes, Steph, it's important not to just unlock the door, but open it and grab the hand of the person on the other side, usher
Mhm.
them in. We see too many people unwilling to share resources and pay it forward, share knowledge, and invite others into their space and learn to grow. We need to create space. We need to create space to grow as we go. It's enough for all of us to eat. Thanks, Steph. That sparked something that I had been sleeping on. And now I am going to move the way I know I should. The more, let's see, the more I educate those. So, yeah.
Yes.
So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'll close this out. We had a lot of people who rocked with us tonight, and I shouted you out as you checked in, and I can't do it now in the purposes in the interest of time, but I just want to thank y'all, man. We've been off the air for a long time, and tonight we had more interaction, more people listening to us live. We had a lot of people that rock with us after we go off the air and they listen to the replays and stuff like that. But we had a lot of people that was rocking with us live tonight. And that was real, real, real dope. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. As I close out, I used to be one that would write my rants. I would sit down and literally just write out what I was gonna say, like 2 o'clock on a Monday. I'm sitting there struggling, trying to write out what I'm gonna say, and I got to the point where I ain't doing that no more. I want to kind of feel the show and do my rant off a feel. And tonight I'm going to do that. And one of the things that we didn't get to tonight was the passings that we've had. And so I'm going to get into that. So, really quick, I want to give a shout out to Bob Saget because I was a big time Full House fan. I got a kick out of the show, and he used to make me laugh. And I want to give love to someone that would make me laugh because that's one of the most important things you can do in life. When you laugh, you can't feel bad and laugh at the same time, even if the pain is on other side of the laughter. Front side of the laughter, there's pain. Backside of the laughter, there's pain. But in the laughter, there's joy. And I used to get that from Full House, and Bob Saget was a big part of that. And so I want to say peace to him and peace to his family because apparently his death was unexpected. At 65 years old, I'm only 18 years away from that. And the closer I get to 65, the younger it is. And that's a young 65. So I want to say peace to his family. And I hope that his soul is resting now, and it will until the end of eternity. And the same goes to Betty White. At 99 years, 3 weeks shy of 100, we got news today that she had a stroke before her passing. And at 99 years old, she had a full life. We would make all kinds of jokes about Betty White, not the negative ones. I didn't care too much for those, but the ones that would speak to her longevity and how at her age she's just iconic and wasn't expected anybody's. You live to be 100 years old, it's a blessing. And the Golden Girls, when it came out in the 80s, I was a elementary age black kid in Jersey City watching these four old white ladies in Miami, and they cracked me up. Them jokers was funny. I enjoyed it. I got a lot of laughs out of Betty White, and that is, the last generation of laughs that I would get from her. But she did Mary Tyler Moore and the shows that my mama would watch, and I ain't know her from that stuff, but I knew her from the Golden Girls, and I got a kick out of all of them. All four of them were funny in their own way, and I won't say, oh, but Rose was special just because she just died. No, I liked all of them, but because she just died, I want to give her flowers, posthumously, of course, and say peace to her and her family. But it's the last one that I want to really speak of, and that is the death of Sidney Poitier at 94 years old. And I think of Sidney, this was somebody even in my age. I mean, he was nearly 50 years older than I am, you know, at 94. He was an old guy when I touched down. But I always kind of had a thing for Sidney Poitier. Like, he was just cool. He spoke with this accent, but it was subtle. Everything about him was subtle. He wasn't a boisterous man. He wasn't an overt man. He wasn't a man that was outward in his demeanor. He was a man that was very subtle in his strength and his power. And I got a kick out of it. I got a kick out of listening to him talk. I got a kick out of watching his movies. I got a kick out of seeing him carry this strength that black men in his day carried, but he carried it on screen for all to see. And there are 3 movies that I want to point out that speak to that. To Sir with Love. He was a teacher in classroom with a bunch of white kids, and he never changed who he was. And this movie came out in the 1960s. He's teaching white kids. So that's the first thing. Wow. That's the thing. That's the whole thing. But he never wavered in his personal strength. He never wavered in making sure that he was authentically black and a man. Appreciated that. Of course, I wasn't here in 1967. I saw this movie later on, but I appreciated that, and I thank him for taking on that role. To Serve with Love. Guess who's coming home to dinner? You got this white girl that takes the brother home to the family, and to see the face on the mama when he came in there was priceless, because by the time I seen that movie, I was moving into my militancy stage where I'm thinking, yo, if he's dating her and she with it and you ain't, that's a you problem. 1967 is kind of a everybody problem. But Sidney Poitier's character carried it like it was a you problem, it was a them problem. And it was dope to me. I appreciated that because you just didn't see that. And he had this quiet energy and strength that it was almost like it was okay. It was okay. It was okay. It was normal for him to be in that space. And then my personal favorite, In the Heat of the Night. And, I was late to In the Heat of the Night. I love Carol O'Connor. Played Archie Bunker, All of the Family. So Carol O'Connor is what led me to the In the Heat of the Night franchise, TV show. And I'm not talking about in the 80s and 90s when the show was running, because it wasn't on my radar then. It didn't get on my radar till about 2 or 3 years ago when I started watching In the Heat of the Night regularly. It's like, man, this show is dope. Like, how did I not watch this when it was on? It's cheesy as hell. The acting was terrible. Howard E. Rollins, hey, look, man, I loved him in The Soldier Story. He ain't winning no Oscars for nothing. He's just not. And Carol O'Connor, he basically channeled Rod Steiger, but it led me to the movie. Watching that TV show, it led me to the movie. And when I watched the movie, there was one scene that stood out for me that was the epitome of the quiet strength, dignity, and the don't fuck with me that came with Sidney Poitier. There was a scene where Rod Steiger's character took Sidney Poitier's character to go and speak to a suspect. And in the conversation with the suspect, with Rod Steiger as the police chief standing to the side, and Sidney Poitier as Virgil Tibbs questioning the guy, the dude slapped Sidney Poitier across the face. Virgil Tibbs. And instinctively slapped right back. 1967. Now, today, that ain't a thing. I saw this a year ago. Like, literally, this 1967 movie I just saw a year ago. So I didn't even really blink too much about it until I really thought about the fact that this was 1967. And in the days since his passing, I find that this was a scene that was not in the original script, that was put in the script by Sidney Poitier, and he made sure that it stayed in the movie contractually. It was important because the scene where the suspect slapped him was in the original script. His response was not. And to see that circa 1967 had to be empowering. During the height of the civil rights movement, it had to be Sidney Poitier. It kind of reminded me of Jackie Robinson. It had to be the right one. You couldn't just put anybody in that spot because it wouldn't have come across as strong, as dignified as it had been for Jackie, and in this case for Sidney. He's the first man to win an Oscar, first black man to win an Oscar, acting for Lilies in the Field, 1963, years before the three movies that I just mentioned. This man has receipts. And your favorite actor, whoever he or she may be, I promise you, at some point in their life, they looked at the life of Sidney Poitier and they said, you know what? I'd like to be like that guy. That is the greatest honor that you can bestow. So I want to say peace to Sidney Poitier. I want to say love to Sidney Poitier. I want to say peace and love to his family and any of his fans, anybody who loved him. We lost a giant in our community last week when we lost him. But we have his memory, we have his guidance, we have his wisdom, and we have the movies that he was starred in that can show us what kind of person he was and what kind of actor he was and the legacy that he left. Rest in peace, my brother. You've done your work, and your work was done well. I also want to say peace very, very briefly. I mentioned Bob Saget. I mentioned, who did I say? Betty White. Thank you, John. And then Sidney Poitier. But you know who else I need to mention? Thank you, John, for writing it down for me. I got to mention Max Julian, man. This dude was special. If you ever seen the Mac and you ever seen Goldie with his cool self, this man has swag before we had the term to attach the swag. Max Julian, the Mac, and Goldie in the Mac. This dude, hey, look, they put this dude in the trunk with a bunch of rats, drove around town, and dropped them off at the hospital. What kind of now that's Mac shit right there. But rest in peace to Bob Saget. Rest in peace to Betty White. Rest in peace to Max Julian. And by all means, rest in peace to Sidney Poitier. That is my myrrh. Marcus's unrelated rant. It's got nothing to do with what we're here talking about tonight. It's the end of the show. I want to remind everybody that independence is the key to building your legacy. Also want to say peace to all of the stars and all of the squares and the abundance of water, the fool is thirsty. Those are the words of Bob Marley, who you hear singing in the background. I had to play the music twice because I'm running my mouth. Ain't no hashtag with Marcus J. We'll be back here live next week, but I do want to say one more thing. Authenticity has no competition. Back next week, y'all. Holla at your boy, and your sister. We the crew, you are you. Be back in a few, but that few is a week. Holla.
Take it on me now. It's about that time. It's about that time to get.
Oh yeah, I'm with this, with it. I'm just gonna lay back and I'ma drop some smooth lyrics. So tune in 7 to 9:30 and don't be late. I'm about to set it straight. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Word. I'm ready, let's go. Ain't no half stepping, that's the name of the show. Yeah, Marcus J hosting and we ready to go. Yeah, Hunters Talk sprinkle with a dash of humor to the legacy listeners and the online viewers. What you wanna talk about, call it, we're hearing you. Cover all topics, touch on the main issues. With the flow in this show, bring the heat. The word on the street, Wizard Earl on the beat. We superb in the D, legacy online. 7 and 9:30, please be on time. Ain't no half stepper with Marcus J, my brother. If they can't hang, word to their mother. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before force. And listen up, this Marcus J start to talk, running back. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before force. And listen up, this Marcus J start to talk. Steppin, that's the name of the show. Yeah, Marcus J hosting and we ready to go. Yeah, Hunters Talk sprinkle with a dash of humor to the legacy listeners and the online viewers. What you wanna talk about, call it, we're hearing you. Cover all topics, touch on the main issues. With the flow in this show, bring the heat. The word on the street, Wizard Earl on the beat. We superb in the D, legacy online. 7 and 9:30, please be on time. Ain't no half stepper with Marcus J, my brother. If they can't hang, word to their mother. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before force. And listen up, this Marcus J start to talk.